Welcome back, you guys, to the North American Collegiate Hearthstone Open, hosted by TeSPA. We're here at PAX. We're down to the top 4. We saw 4 2-0 matches, 4 strong performances through the round of 8. We're down to the top 4. Our first match, we've got the player who 2-0'd with Druid against the player who 2-0'd with Rogue, Miracle Rogue. We've got No Stam against Sniped again.
And for those who got eliminated already, they have still had the opportunity to enjoy PAX, and also they are going to walk away with a nice $250 towards their college fund.
Yeah, hopefully it was a great experience for them. You know, no one wants to come to a tournament and lose in the first round, but you know they're not walking away empty-handed, fortunately. And as for the players that are moving on, they're still ready to battle. One interesting thing to note, since we are now down to the top 4, not only are we moving into best of 5, but the top 3 players from this event will receive a North America Blizzard regional invite. So any of the players who have not either reached top 16 on the ladder over the past 5 months or who have not won one of the community tournaments offering an invite, this tournament has 3. So definitely worthy, considering just how large this tournament was and the long and difficult road that each of these players had to go through to get here. But this first match will determine possibly one of those spots. If Sniped again wins, he already has an invite. But if No Stam wins, he'll be moving on, and he will get an invite. No Stam choosing Druid for the first game. Sniped again, picking Hunter this time instead of the Miracle Rogue that he 2-0'd with.
And of course, since this is now the top 4, we are moving to best of 5s instead of best of 3s. So all the players will be playing all of their decks.
Well, at least one of them will be playing all their decks.
Ah, that's right.
If someone 3-0s, then we'll still only see the one. So if No Stam were to 3-0 with Druid, all we would know is Druid. Sniped again ends up keeping with Mad Scientist, and he also has Double Buzzard and Scavenging Hyena. No Stam, he's got a nice curve for the first few turns.
Huh, he drew into Web Spinner and still decided to play Mad Scientist. I probably would have played the Web Spinner there.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have held on to the coin or not. Drawing the Web Spinner does make it a little easier to just play the Web Spinner, but if you assume your opponent doesn't have a nice play, you're taking away their turn 2 hero power play and forcing them to do it on turn 3.
That is true.
It does lose the coin to do it.
I'm not sure if Nostum, was this the deck he played?
This was the deck he played.
Okay, so Sniped again should be privy that this deck has quite a lot of 2-drops, including Haunted Creeper.
Yeah, so No Stam doesn't know what's going on with Sniped against Hunter deck. The reveal of the Mad Scientist will give him a little bit of information, but Sniped again knew exactly what was going on when he chose Hunter, that he was probably going to be playing against Druid again. So we'll have to see if it plays out in his favor. So No Stam decides to just wrath away the Mad Scientist. So it does get rid of it. It will eventually protect his Haunted Creeper, but it does give Sniped again a trap. I'm not sure if I saw what trap it was. Did he check it?
I haven't seen it either. Plays Hyena instead of Mad Scientist this time around. It's another unusual play.
So No Stam, he just drops the Harvest Golem on curve. Makes a lot of sense. Sniped again is considering even playing a Starving Buzzard here. Maybe it is a Snake Trap down there. Not sure. Instead, he just drops the Web Spinner, and he's hovering over the hero power, considering what he wants to do. He could drop another Mad Scientist as well, but he decides just to play hero power. Interesting.
I feel so discombobulated with this play. That's 3 turns in a row where I would have done something differently.
Yeah, and you know, I'm certainly not going to go so far as to say that you know it's wrong. It is actually a Snake Trap, so
and
that
is
is revealed.
Swipe. Well,
yeah,
we've got
but
the
Snipe is ready to go.
And
Almost
that
certainly.
must be good, yes.
So it was a Snake Trap, but No Stam has a good answer for it, ready to go. Now Sniped again. Has to be. He's staring down. Oh, he gets a Core Hound.
Oh, by the way,
large minion.
We do have Sniped again, supporting the new card back. Ice Crown.
The Ice Crown card back. It does. It actually looks really good. I noticed it, and then I dismissed it momentarily, and good on you for pointing it out.
That does look pretty nice, yeah.
No Stam. He's got his Harvest Golem in play. He's got 5 mana. He has more than one choice with what he wants to do on this turn, and he decides that it's just going to be a low depth turn.
Yep. Good time to play it. It's not turn 6, so you can't do the Savannah High main. and that really locks up the options for the Hunter. He actually does have a 5-mana minion though.
All right, dueling Loatheps. Hunter doesn't usually have a lot of really powerful 5-mana minion plays, so Loatheb is usually often the only one, sometimes something like Stampeding Kodo. So that is going to be a great answer. Oh, and it's yet another snake trap? Snake trap number 2?
It has to be because it didn't trigger.
Yeah, I mean, well, it could be a snipe.
Or snipe, that's right.
But that seems unlikely as well. Or maybe I think he played the Loatheb after attacking last turn. Maybe. Yeah, I think so. I think he attacked the Mad Scientist first, so we know it's not Snipe. He knows that it's Snake.
Wow, a double Snake Trap. Very exciting.
So Sniped again, even more options. I'm not sure how to best play this turn. He's a little bit behind on board. He decides to just Flare because he doesn't like what he has so far. The Hunter Creeper is a reasonable pickup. It gives him something to do besides just kill command. I would have to imagine that he's likely to kill command the Loatheb, and it looks like he is going to do that. So he does get to knock it down. I'm not sure if he wants to be... He decides not to attack with Loatheb. So he just holds back Loatheb, Druid of the Claw doing his job, holding down the fort, discouraging attackers. And now it's flipped back to No Stam, and he still sort of has the initiative here. And he knows that it's almost certainly a Snake Trap. And his opponent is at 19. So we might see him go really aggressive here, especially considering he has Force of Nature in hand as well.
That's a good point. If he does decide to charge this Druid of the Claw, then that's going to be 11 damage if he also uses the hero ability, setting the opponent down to 8. And then with Force of Nature, he only needs 1 more damage in addition to the hero ability.
Do you think that you would play a Hunter Creeper, or do you think you would Hero Power?
I would hero ability because the threat of doggies is coming.
Okay. I would be really, really tempted to play the Haunted Creeper. I think Hero Power is also good.
One of the main things against my... one of the main reasons why I would play hero ability over Haunted Creeper is I would figure Haunted Creeper is likely to deal 1 damage because you kill him with it the next turn. Use the hero ability, you also deal 1 damage, and you don't have the liability of potentially getting more doggies.
That's true, but you're assuming that you're also assuming you're 1 damage short next turn. And by playing the Haunted Creeper, if you draw something like Savage Roar, you're more likely to be able to win just next turn outright.
That is true.
But
Smith again is finally playing these buzzards, which he's held since the beginning of the game, and unfortunately whiffs.
If he had drawn Unleash there and found a couple Hunter's Marks or something, definitely could have swung the game in his favor. As it is, he's still got a really tough choice. He's able to clear out the 2 largest minions, but he's at 9. His opponent knows that it's not like a freezing or explosive trap.
Yeah.
So this is just going to end the game. No Stam. 3rd game in a row with a Druid. Unstoppable almost, it's seeming.
Yeah, quite strong.
If you're in the position of Sniped again, do you think that this was his... Did he pick Hunter because he wanted his best chance against Druid? Was this his best chance and it didn't get there?
It feels to me like Hunter is one of those decks which is generally okay/good against everything. And might just have used it to kind of quote-unquote scout for the next deck so you can know what deck to play against the Druid next.
That's true. Certainly the Hunter decks, we've seen them be really powerful to the point of taking wins off of almost anything. And he could go into it knowing that he at least has a good chance and maybe even could sweep a series with it. Unfortunately, it goes down to the Druid, and he's going to have to pick something else to play against the Druid for the next game. I think that he has something that might be well prepared for it. We're going to be going into the next game. These players, almost no waiting. They're ready to go, and we'll be seeing their mulligans. And I think it looks like so it's going to be Priest. It's going to be Priest from Sniped again, ready to go against No Stam's Druid. No Stam's Druid hasn't lost yet.
Hooray, rapid-fire games. We've got from Nostum's side a strong Echoing Ooze Creeper start, and he's considering keeping the Knight because it is against a Priest, which is most likely the control deck.
Spectral Knight, definitely good against Priest. Almost any style of Priest it's at least decent against. And you know, just having 4 attack is already good, and being untargetable is especially good.
Right, Snapped again did replace one of the Cabal Shadow Priests and got another one, so we know he's running 2 of it in this deck. Cabal Shadow Priest should be very strong against this type of deck. So many targets to steal, including Harvest Golem, Haunt Creeper, and Keeper of the Grove.
Yeah, there's a lot of great targets. It's going to be really difficult to really play around it for No Stam. but what NoStam has is a coin play right on turn 1. He just wants to get the pressure out as quickly as possible. Echoing Ooze, kind of a 2/4 in a way.
That's
for
right.
2 mana. Really powerful, even if you don't have an immediate buff for it.
Yeah, snapped again with no answer for that. Oh man, we've got a curve really forming for Nostam now. Picking up the Shade of Nos. Nax Rammus into turn 4 Keeper into turn 5 Spectral Knight. That's a good curve.
Yeah, Shade, definitely one of the premier cards that he would have wanted to draw for turn 3. Sniped again, he gets to Thought Steal, and he gets Cairn and Ancient Allure. If he can hang on this game long enough to actually get good use out of those. Oh, and he picked up a boot as well. NoStam just bashing in, playing his Shade, staying on curve, really sort of forcing Sniped again to have good answers. He's got a great curve, and Sniped again has a Shade of his own, and that's
interesting.
That's a card that's just outright in his deck. That was not Thought Stolen.
The cards he thought still were the Cairn and Ancient of Lore, which if he manages to, like you mentioned, if he manages to get to the late game, he's got a really good chance. But oh man, Nostam already considering doing this Savage War. There's so many minions he's already got on the field.
Yeah, his board is 4 minions. He might be thinking that it's not going to be 4 minions ever again. The downside would be that he doesn't get to develop the Harvest Golem this turn. He'll have to forego the Harvest Golem in order to do it, but it would be potentially taking away damage from his Savage Roar if he doesn't use it now.
Right, there's also the problem of if he's using the Savage Roar, then he has to reveal the Shade of Nax Rammus, which then allows Sniped again to trade his Shade of Nax Rammus to Nostam's Shade of Nax Rammus. Well, but, I mean, you put your opponent at 9, that's hard to pass up.
Yeah, he's still almost certainly, or he's very likely to have a board still continuing on it through this turn. Sniped again does have a Holy Nova. He decides to kill the Shade, and so he's going to get the spectral creepers, the spectral spiders out of it, but that's all he's got left. So his opponent's at 11. He has 2 damage showing, 3 damage showing if you count the hero power.
All right, clears the board, and looks like we're settling down a bit. Sniped again is going to have a very strong turn here where he finally managed to take the momentum of the game. He'll be the one with board control for the first time this game, which is when I'm playing Priest, it's like, you're always on the back foot, you're always losing until that key turn when you play something like a Ball Shadow Priest or Akanai Soul Priest plus Circles.
That was definitely a big swing turn for Sniped again. NoStam now has to figure out how he wants to put together the last 11 damage. Ultimately, with Priest healing, he'll probably have to deal with more than 11, but he's certainly the aggressor in this game. Sniped again will be trying to stabilize as much as possible.
Oh boy, another excellent target with Cabal Shadow Priest.
So he was about to slam Shadow Priest number 2, but he drew Holy Nova number 2, and he's considering using that to kill the Shade instead. So he doesn't go for it. He builds his own board. This is a little bit riskier on the side of Sniped again, but it also is the most immediately powerful play. Ooh, a Druid of the Claw drawn for NoStam. So he can push certainly quite a bit of damage. Now, he's going to live through this turn, so Sniped again can pull the trigger on Holy Fire, even if he just wants to heal as much as possible. He does charge in. This is about what you would expect, and now NoStam is hoping that he's not dead, which he's almost certainly not, and he's hoping that his opponent does not have an additional heal. If his opponent doesn't have a heal beyond hero power, he can just swipe hero power kill. But Sniped again, Holy Fire, NoStam can't be happy about that.
Yeah, a good 7 heal turn there, and Nostam needs to draw. Is there something you can draw to win?
I'm not sure that there is. I would have to. I don't think that there's 8, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. He's outright dead next turn. NoStam basically needs to heal with Ancient Allure, and then draw both pieces of the combo. So he already drew Harvest Golem this turn. Means he hasn't drawn one piece. Sniped again with double Cabal Shadow Priest.
Yeah, I mean Cabal Shadow Priest
demolishing the game.
MVP this game, no question. 1 manages to steal 2/4, manages to steal 2/3. That is extreme value.
NoStam, he was the aggressor throughout the whole early game. He pulled the trigger on the early Savage Roar, really put the pressure on, and Sniped Again was able to, you know, sort of change enough minds to to keep the game from spinning out of control.
That's right, and it was very close. But now he's got the 12, and the question is, does Sniped Again actually have? No, he's 1 damage off. He could only do 14. So
No, he had Smite plus Holy
10,
Nova.
12.
He had 12 in play plus.
Wait, so he missed?
Yes.
Whoops.
Whoops.
Oh well.
Yeah, it's not going to change the outcome. He's still making a winning play.
Yeah.
Just not the immediate winning play.
Yep.
There are times where thinking you're playing safe and missing lethal really does hurt you.
That's right.
This is not going to be one of those times. Still, despite the miss lethal at the end, definitely credit for the strong pick of Priest into Druid and hanging on just enough to have some swing cards come into play to have the matchup go in his favor.
That's right, and cool job running 2 Cabal Shadow Priest also. I myself ran it for a very long time. I think it's so strong. It is, there's just some decks that it's not so good now, and I myself have cut down one of those Cabal Shadow Priests.
Yeah, it is a relatively slow card. There are things that you don't have great targets for it, and then it's just sort of like, you know, Black Knight into an empty board. Not the most exciting thing you could do. 2 extra mana for a Yeti.
Right.
You'd prefer to be doing something else, but that type of matchup where you do have great targets, there's nothing else you'd rather have. And now it's going to be on NoStam to decide what he wants to do to deal with the Priest deck.
Yeah. That Priest pick was actually a bit of a surprising counter, possibly just because of the 2 Cabal Shadow Priests. Not something I have that much experience with against Token Druid or this type of new Druid, but it seems like it could be very strong. And we have Nostum taking the Hunter in against the Priest.
So Nostum with a Hunter of his own. I don't know if we'll be seeing any Leper Gnomes coming out from Nostum's Hunter. So far, we've only seen that from one player. But I think for this type of matchup, you'd prefer to be the more mid-range deck.
I agree.
Instead of something more aggro.
When I was playing Priest, one of the reasons why I switched away from Priest is because there were so many Hunters around. Similar to my explanation of Warrior versus Hunter earlier, Priest also doesn't have that much of a good answer against Savannah Highmane.
Savannah Highmane, definitely a pretty premier card against control decks, and equally strong against mid-range decks if you can ever play it with initiative. Meaning to say, like, playing it into an empty board or when your board is more powerful than your opponent's.
That's right.
So NoStam, he's got his web spinner crashing in. He's deciding if he wants to just play the flare, develop his hand, play the trap, develop sort of his board in a way the best he can, or just play hero power, which is the most efficient use of his resources to do.
I'm more of a fan of using the hero ability there because you don't really know what you're going to be freezing trapping.
And Sniped Again, with his Shade of Naxxramas Priest deck, he's got it on turn 2. And unfortunately for him, his opponent has a freezing trap ready to go. But usually playing it early is what you want to be doing. So Shade's going to be there. Flare's going to open it up, but he doesn't have a way to kill it. So he's really just playing the Flare mostly to cycle. The reveal not doing anything this turn necessarily. But it will force him to attack with the Shade, and so it does break that freezing trap and get returned to his hand.
Right. I mean, just flaring and keeping it invisible, I think, kind of forced the Priest's hand, because otherwise it would just get removed with something like Kill Command or Bow or some such.
Right. As where he could have had a choice.
Whoa, man. Double Savannah Highmane with the...
That's a real thing.
That is tough.
So he draws one Savannah Highmane. The web spinner becomes a second. So he's got a triple Savannah Highmane deck this game. We've seen a lot of hits. We haven't had an Angry Chicken yet.
That's right.
From any player. So web spinner is really, really doing work today. And, you know, those Savannah Highmanes probably are going to be an issue.
A great kill command for the Yeti and the hero ability, and Nostum's next 2 turns are going to be amazing. Savannah Highmane. Can't get much better than that.
Highmane is really, really great, super powerful, something that Priest doesn't really want to deal with.
One of the things that you have to do when you're the Priest against a Hunter going into his turn 6 is to be ready for Savannah Jaime. Unfortunately, Sniped again is going to fall behind here because he either has to play this 5 mana 2/2 3/3 or Thought Steal, which doesn't have a great chance of getting something too spectacular.
Yeah. Shade is definitely a card that is better the earlier you can play it. That's one reason why the Druid decks have taken to playing it, because you have the potential to innervate it on turn 1 and have it start growing as soon as possible. I like the idea of it in the Priest deck. Sniped again is going to do the best he can to take care of Jaime number 1, but little does he know that Jaime number 2 is waiting just in the wings.
That's right. So even though he's used about 1.5 cards, he's managed to deal with, I'm going to say, like 75% of Savannah Jaime number 1. Here comes Savannah Jaime number 2. Sniped again does have another Holy Fire for it, but no, well, he does have the Holy Nova follow-up for it, which is going to be strong on the next one.
Yeah, so there's actually a good chance that he'll stay in the game through both of these high mains here. His opponent had double high main and he had double Holy Fire, and he has the Holy Nova follow-up if he's able to sort of survive, you know, this board of minions.
That's right. This is actually almost as good as you can get it when you're a priest.
Almost as good as it can get when your opponent has played back-to-back high mains.
That's right.
Certainly they could have a weaker draw in general and you'd be more happy. Misha's pretty strong, so Misha actually means that Holy Nova plus Holy Smite won't be able to kill everything of his opponents.
Yeah, and buffs one out of Holy Nova range as well. Now this is tough. It looked like Holy Nova was going to wipe the board, but now there's going to be a 4-2 and a 4-1, it looks like, left over.
Yeah, this is a really, really scary board to be on the other side of. No Sam's considering even just attacking with a bow. If he were to draw another bow, then you know he's thinking he's going to win really soon, which is why he would attack with the bow. He's thinking he doesn't need it for removal. I actually think it would be a reasonable choice to just attack with the bow this turn, but there will be no punish if he doesn't, unless he draws specifically the other bow. So
it's worth
not really a lot of risk.
That Nostum has played into losing to Akanai Soul Priest plus Circle Healing. However, Sniped again either doesn't. Ooh,
Oh wow!
Whoa.
That
is the board clear.
That is the answer. That was a huge draw. Admirable, we love you, and that is going to clear the entire board and heal, and leave him with a board presence of his own.
And
that was
Nostum's
a big deal.
Guaranteed win has just disappeared.
Wow, that was a scary, scary, scary board. And if Amaz were here, he'd be like, "Yep, that's how it works." And you know, I think I was perhaps more scared than I even should have been, because that potential right there was something that Priest is capable of, and not a lot of other classes do that very well.
That's right. Priest just sometimes has that very specific hard combination where you, here we go again, Pyromancer managing to do work. I think Pyromancer has done about, considering it's 7 minions, and I'd say Pyromancer has done roughly 30 points of damage so far.
Wild Pyromancer is a real card, and it's doing work is an understatement. He's, he sent the whole construction crew home, and he decided that he could just do it all himself.
Oh man, what a game changer. So Nostum here, he's got
more than nothing, but it's feeling like nothing for Nostum right now. If he
Yep.
had, of course, a Buzzard ready to go here, he could possibly draw into more action. But winning with this hand as it stands right now is a daunting, daunting task.
That's right. He does have a hunter's mark for this taunt, and the opponent is somewhat low. Not really low, but Nostum does have him technically at 10 with the kill command. So he just needs to find a way to deal 10 damage. For that's easier said than done. Sniped again has a good amount of board control, and he's going to be able to continue forward with this double Thought Steal.
Yeah, at this point, now that his opponent doesn't have any minions, the Thought Steal, the Pyro trigger part of it is only hurting himself. He picks up a Snake Trap and a Hunter's Mark. Snake Trap actually could be pretty good. He decides not to play it, interestingly enough. So he's thinking that there's some sort of informational advantage or something.
Actually, I think it's because his Pyromancer would die if he played it.
Oh, absolutely. Never mind. What am I thinking? For some reason, my brain did not interpret a trap as a spell.
Right, right.
Thank you. So, I mean, that's the clear reason why. Leroy comes in, unleash for as much as he can. Decides to use the Hunter's Mark instead of the kill command. I'm not sure what he's going to want to do from here because he can't kill everything.
Ooh, we're going to have to kill command a 1-1, essentially.
No, well, I think he might kill. He was thinking about kill commanding the face, but he's just going to hold on to it because he sees that kill command as his only way to finish off the game. So he's going to hope to get something like Huffer next turn off of an Animal Companion. That's really his premier draw.
Thought steals into... These thought steals haven't been great. The Hunter doesn't really have that much exciting things to take.
Yeah, Explosive Trap is not bad, but that would actually defend against that potential Huffer, which is one of his only ways to easily lose. So he decides to go for the Snake Trap instead. So Huffer would end the game. It would be exact damage if No Stam gets it and gets Huffer and just goes for it. Instead, it's a Mad Scientist. A little bit unlikely to draw the Animal Companion and get the Huffer. Houndmaster, nothing really to target with it. He decides to hold on to it.
Yeah, a bit shocking to think that Nostam still out the end there had that one chance, and perhaps a misstep from Sniped again, giving him that one chance. It's not a possibility that I had considered.
So he's going to figure out what this trap is. He knows that it's not a freezing or an explosive. Probably figures that it is the Snake Trap that he got off of the Thought Steal earlier.
That's right. Interesting thing is Nostam actually has no idea what this trap is, I believe.
Eaglehorn Bow does represent a good amount of damage. And now at this point, what could he possibly draw to win the game next turn? He's really, really close. Does just a Beast do it by itself?
Yeah, I mean, a Beast will do 10 damage. And the most that Sniped again can do is heal for 2, and he has no taunts. So this is going to come down to the wire.
Right down to the wire. No Stam is...
Oh, even worse, he has to activate this Snake Trap, but he can deal with it with Pyromancer number 2.
Very, very scary position for Sniped again. He really was able to climb back into the game.
Something worth mentioning is that he can not activate the Snake Trap and take the 4-3 by Hunter's marking his own Sylvanas. That might have been an interesting line of play.
That would have been a very interesting line of play. He decides not to, which is certainly okay. He's just going to clear everything out and decide to heal and attack for 5. So he just plays I think he's willing to play. He realizes he even unleash the Hounds.
One thing about playing that third minion is now he does die to unleash the Hounds, because that would be, I mean, we're assuming we don't see Nostam's hand. That'd be 3, 6, 8. Oh, no.
It is not what he wanted. Oh no, he had enough damage anyways.
Oh.
Was there 1 damage that I miscounted earlier? I thought he was going to be at 9 for some reason. All right, well, he doesn't need the Beast. He just finishes it off. Got exact damage.
Yep.
So a little bit of a failure on my part there, or both of us for not spotting the exact number. Not quite enough counting, but the players have it handled. They've got it figured out.
Right.
And Hunter takes down the game. And that was really a game that I thought the Priest might win.
Yeah.
He was so close to catching up in this game that looked impossible.
How is that possible? The Priest had the perfect answer on that turn.
But he had the perfect answer to a nearly impossible situation.
That's right.
Really a great curve by the Hunter, picking up an extra high main off of the web spinner. Slamming them on back-to-back turns is, like you said, something that Priest just doesn't want to see. And in a way, that potential is why you stopped playing Priest.
That's
and it kind of shows up here. They, played it out in double high main. The Priest was able to take care of it and drew into the Wild Pyromancer at just the right exact time. And it looked like he might even be able to climb back into the game and just barely got finished off.
Yeah, Hunter just managed to get that finisher. I think he ended the game with essentially 0 cards in hand. So that was all the resources. If Priest could have just found 1 more point of healing somewhere.
Oh,
or
gosh.
More like 3 points of healing, really, because you're assuming the Hunter gets a Beast. Then Priest might have had it.
It was really, really close. Unfortunately, he didn't get there. I'm curious to see what he will bring now to play against that Hunter. The Priest was so close. So close. That would have been a big deal if he had gotten that win with the Priest. Now he has a little bit of an uphill climb. He's down 2-1.
That's right. But fortunately, he does have the Miracle Rogue, which he 2-0'd with in the initial game, and one of the games was against Hunter.
And when he did 2-0 with that Miracle Rogue, he actually played it really, really well. I was impressed with his sequencing. I think that his choices for which lines to take were really good, and showed a strong sort of mental concept of the matchups that he was in. And so I'm curious to see if he can take down Hunter, Hunter in general is much improved even against Miracle Rogue lately. So No Stam's got a flare on turn 1. Oh, but he picks up a web spinner instead. If you had not drawn the web spinner, do you just play the flare, or do you think that it's worth holding against Rogue to reveal stealth things?
That's interesting. I think it's worth playing the flare. But Nostam off to a great start thanks to that web spinner. Web spinner into Creeper is the new best opening for Hunter. New, quote unquote.
And he picks up a Direwolf Alpha off of the web spinner, which actually is not bad at all. It's certainly better than nothing. And web spinner, there's been a lot of variety off of web spinner. We've seen multiple King Crushes that didn't get played, and you could consider it almost useless, in that case, although they could have been good.
King Crush is like the worst card you draw from web spinner, which you think is the best one.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Yes.
And the card is really powerful. It's just hard to it's a little slow, and it's hard to use it. Even though it has charge, you think of it as, oh man, so much damage right
Coin
now.
Handmaster on the Creeper, a very strong turn 4. Although he did have the Animal Companion. I think that was an interesting choice.
Yeah, I like playing the Houndmaster actually. And he's going to be able to clear out the front end of the minions. His opponent will still have sort of the back end. He has to use a preparation to do it. But ultimately that might be worth it, because otherwise there would have been a lot of damage crashing in.
Yep, sniped again, has that Azure Drake, has that SI7 agent coming in. So he's got some things to keep going on. Nostam looks like he's got two main options here, which is the Direwolf Alpha and clear off this 3-3, or to go for the Animal Companion.
Yeah, I think considering my opponent has a 3-1 weapon ready to go, I would be very tempted to use the Direwolf Alpha and play a Snake Trap. I think that my opponent would probably be very likely to attack the Direwolf Alpha, and I would be okay with that. You get an immediate use with the creepers, and hopefully you get your Snake Trap to trigger and represent a presence. You just saw Fan of Knives go away, and you don't know how many your opponent is playing, so he's hoping that those beasts get something done.
Yeah, we have the natural fall of Badge Drake, and like you predict, I expect the attack here. Whoa.
He's really going to decide not to do it. I think it's because he drew the Blade Flurry.
Ah, yes.
Now he knows that he can use the Blade Flurry to clear out, hopefully, mostly whatever his opponent plays. Animal Companion comes down for no stamp. It picks up Leok, which is close to doing what he wants, but not going to be able to clear out the Drake, so he's just going to have to settle for attacking in for 3. Now he has a choice again. Does he play a trap? Does he hero power? He goes for the efficiency play and plays the hero power, which is really, really interesting, because freezing trap on Azure Drake is pretty good. The unfortunate thing is that it leaves the spell power in play. Sniped again, immediately Blade Flurries, because he gets a 4 damage Blade Flurry. He doesn't even have to attack on the Leok to kill it. So a lot of damage coming in. Now he has the Azure Drake already developed.
Novice Engineer is an interesting card to put in the deck. It certainly is going to make it much better against Freezing Trap. We had Savannah High main, but he chose not to play it and chose the Flare instead. And what is he hoping for?
No Stam is really fighting from behind at this point. And Animal Companion is going to help keep a little bit of pressure up depending on what he gets. It ends up just being a Misha. It's probably better than another Leok, but maybe Huffer, especially considering he's holding Leroy. Huffer would have been really what he would have wanted to see.
Right.
At this point, it's really kind of a race for the Hunters from the Hunters' perspective. And Sniped again just has to make sure that he doesn't die and maintains the advantage that he has.
Right. That Snake Trap is looking like it's not actually going to activate this game. He has a chance to Cold Blood, takes it, and concede? Perhaps.
Interesting that he decides to Shadow Step on his Novice Engineer. So,
wow, that was a really, really interesting play.
So he's making his opponent's potential unleash smaller, and helping himself dig into the win. At this point, if he draws Leroy, he doesn't need both Shadow Steps. He only needs the one. And so he figures I would rather just draw a card into more damage and make my opponents unleash smaller. It's actually a really, really nice play.
It's a sharp play. On the other hand, though, the Shadow Step, well, both of them on just the SI7 agent represents 4 damage, which perhaps he could top deck for. He says well played, but is this a guaranteed win?
No, it's not. So there is a freezing trap there.
Oh, no,
so
it's guaranteed. He's got the Shiv and the SI7 on that.
Okay, but he said well played before he saw the Shiv. I guess, actually, he has Shadow Step, so it was guaranteed. So he didn't know. He didn't know that he was going to be able to make it. He ends up drawing the Leroy, not needing it. Azure Drake, and he's playing double Cold Blood in his deck. Also,
wow. Sniped again definitely has brought a slightly offbeat Miracle Rogue.
It's certainly something that it looks a little bit different than what we're used to seeing, but Cold Blood is a great card against Hunter. It's one of the cards that I consider to be really important in the matchup. And I've even considered keeping it in my opening hand.
Wow.
Really, you need the presence in order for it to be good, but it's one of the main ways that you win, especially if you're going to win early. Cold Blood really gets them down to where you can finish them off. And he's running double Cold Blood and even Novice Engineer.
Do you think Novice Engineer is kind of a response to Hunter also, since you can trigger traps with it while doing a Novice draw?
It certainly might be. And there are other options if you're just trying to break through traps. But Novice Engineer does have the card draw. I recently tinkered with a version of Miracle that had Haunted Creeper and a South Sea Deckhand in it. And the Haunted Creeper was really great at breaking traps and carrying Cold Blood. But it doesn't draw a card, and that's obviously a really critical element of Miracle. And so a good choice for him. No Stam's response, now that he's down to potentially his last game, is to play Rogue, and it looks like it is not Miracle Rogue.
That's right. Nostum has had this deck up his sleeve. He's bringing Face Rogue around, a counter to these Hunters, which everyone here has generally been mumbling around, like trying to find a counter to that. And Face Rogue's a good one.
Face Rogue is a good one, but you really want to have that curve of minions to start off.
Yeah, unfortunate that Nostum did not go second because he did have that Defias.
Right, and in the grand scheme of things, this hand is actually very, very weak as
is.
far as aggro, rogue.
Right, I mean, this looks like
go.
a miracle from Sniped Again's perspective so far. And that's not a good thing to disguise your hand as a miracle hand when you're Face Rogue.
Now, when you're all in on an aggro plan, you want to just be revealing it right away and then have your game plan be developed as quick as possible.
All right, so we're going to have to go with something like turn 3, 3-3. And not even.
So he decides to just suit up his dagger and play the Deadly Poison. I don't think that's necessarily wrong. If you were to just play a 3-3, there's a really good chance that it just gets destroyed immediately. I am surprised that he didn't hold on to the poison.
Right.
Sniped again, doesn't play his Novice, he just decides to fan.
Oh, and that decision not to hold on to poison is going to hurt him here because he has something that's great to combo with. And he already had the SI7 agent.
Yeah, so in the end, he lost 2 damage, even with known information.
Right.
Not considering what he actually drew. The Novice comes out now, and so Sniped again picks up a Shadow Step. Now he has to decide how he wants to deal with a 3-3. The poison seems like a pretty good answer. If this were standard Miracle, it would be a little bit more so. No Stam is actually on the all-in damage plan, though. As soon as this Argent Squire and Defias come down, it's going to be, that's what's going on.
This is going to be a really big surprise to Sniped again, I think. That his opponent is actually a Face Rogue.
I really think it is. He's looked very much like Miracle up to this point. And it's been good for him in a way that...
No, it hasn't.
It's been good for Sniped again in a way that
right.
It hasn't been revealed yet.
Yes.
The only thing it really had, he decided to attack with the 3-power dagger into the 3-3, but I think he had to do that anyways.
Yes. Right now, Nostum is deciding behind... He's considering Arcane Golem, apparently, I think. That's probably a bit too early. So Nostum has actually somehow now gotten a somewhat good hand. It's moved into the late game, and he's got the late game finishers.
Right. And Sniped again has a lot of damage himself, and he's deciding that he just wants to Cold Blood and attack, which he gets the conceal one card too late. I actually think that's a very, very reasonable decision. What's probably going to happen next turn is that 5-1 is going to get attacked and killed, and the Gadgetzan will get sapped. And Cold Blood is a really, really great pickup there, actually.
Wow, how much damage does Nostam have? He's got, with the Arcane Golem and the Shadow Step, that's 8. Cold Blood is 12.
12 plus 4 is 1 damage off lethal.
He's 1 damage off. 1
damage off lethal. So he just needs to hold off and make sure he doesn't die for a turn, and he'll have overkill next turn.
Right. As long as there's no Earthen Ring Farseers is typically the answer from the Miracle Rogue side.
Right. I think I would just take out the 5-1, sap the Auctioneer, and just Cold Blood my 2-1, make it a 6-1. Maybe even play the Arcane Golem as well. I don't think the 1 mana is going to matter.
Well, considering that the Miracle Rogue typically doesn't run taunts, and he already faced a few of the stranger cards in this deck, which would be the Novice Engineer and the 2 Cold Bloods, I think he can deduce that there can't possibly be like a weird techie card such as Senjin or Sludge Belcher in here. He has decided to go with the Arcane Golem, which it's all right.
He's doing 1 less damage this turn, and he decides to Shadow Step his Arcane Golem, which is interesting. So now he has a more powerful Cold-Blooded minion at the cost of there being 1 less damage. If his opponent were able to deal with it very easily, then you know, you would have lost supposedly 1 damage, but it does make it more difficult to deal with. And Nostam has the win in hand if his opponent doesn't play a bunch of Earth Ring Farseers. We know that he doesn't have any in play. Here's the reason why he Shadow Stepped right there, was to play around Lotheb. Very, very, very good play. He would have been able to kill him with just the dagger, but in case his opponent played Earthen Ring Farseer plus Lotheb somehow, I guess maybe you can't do that, but that is why he picked it up. Very, very sharp. And he takes down a win. So now he's got aggro Rogue. He's got the backspace sort of aggro Rogue deck, and he was able to counter his opponent's Miracle Rogue, which is what it usually does. But now we're going into a final game where
we're done.
Oh, that was done.
That was it.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, the first game.
Why did I think that wasn't? Well, in any case, very, very good for Nostam then. For some reason, I thought he was a game down. But, again, counting. I'm going to have to work on that today. But
congratulations, Nostam.
Congratulations to Nostam.
That was not easy. It was very back and forth. Like, one of the reasons why you may have thought is because, like, they were just trading games left and right.
It was. There was a point at which was he up 2-1? And then his opponent won.
I don't remember the exact sequence.
Okay. So apologies for that. Some really, really interesting card choices and deck lists that we're seeing, though. Nostam, congratulations to him. He's going to make it into the finals. That actually means that he has earned one of the 3 qualifier spots available at this event for the Blizzard regional event for North America. So huge congrats to him. That's a big deal. And he also gets to move on even closer to more of that scholarship money. $5,000 total available in this event. So we're actually going to take a short break while we set up for the next match. So stick around, and we'll be right back.
So you're a group of passionate students who love gaming and want to take things to the next level on your campus. Enter TeSPA. We're the premier college gaming network that gives tangible support to the biggest and best college esports groups in the world. As your group grows, you'll be looking to put on awesome events that have your whole campus talking. Introducing the TeSPA Membership Benefits Program. Just for joining TeSPA, you'll get a bunch of sweet perks right away. We'll get you started with a totally customizable web portal and newsletter. Want to turn some heads? Personalized banners and custom tablecloths should do the trick. We'll even throw in our top secret how-to manual that will literally shower you in esports wisdom. As your group grows, you gain access to more and more benefits. Need free production equipment and hardware rentals to support your events? You got it. And big bags of cash? We can help your events out with those as well. If that wasn't enough, every member of your chapter receives a t-shirt, exclusive in-game items, and even an annual membership gift. So what could you possibly be waiting for? Make your mark on the world of esports and apply to become a chapter today.
All right, we're joined with us. We're joined with the winner, Nostem. Hard-fought battle there. How were you feeling during the games there?
I was a little nervous. Like it came down to the last deck. Even though I'm confident in the Backspace versus Miracle matchup, it's still scary to go to the last game.
One of the reasons why you brought Backspace Rogue, presumably, is because you thought there were a lot of hunters around?
Yeah. I think a lot of the people are going to be running Hunter and Miracle, and those are two very strong decks. And Backspace does really well against both of them. So I thought that'd be a really strong deck. Even if it would just hook out one of the decks, that's still strong.
Well, I think you've done your preparation because we have seen a lot of Hunters and Miracles so far. How are you enjoying your time at PAX so far?
PAX has been really fun. I've been checking out all the booths. I'm really into League of Legends, so checking out the live LCS games was really fun.
That's good. In fact, right now there's one going on, my team included. So hooray, good luck them. And one of the final matchups, well, one of the other semifinals going on right now is Dominus versus Tichu. And you've actually played against one of them, Tichu. Tell us about how that match went.
My match against Tichu was a best 2 out of 3, and it actually went to the third game. He was playing Ramp Druid, and I was playing Hunter, and it came like right down to the wire. I didn't think I was going to lose the game. He played like Ragnaros, and he had like a 25% chance of staying in the game, and he did that, and he just kept getting the perfect top decks to stay in the game, and he ended up winning in a really comeback fashion. So I had to fight my way through the losers bracket to come to Seattle.
Wow, all right. When did you follow the losers bracket?
It was actually one match before qualifying, so I only had to win one more match after dropping down.
I see. Well, big congratulations on making it this far, and you're in the finals. So you've got your guaranteed Blizzcon qualifier spot. Good luck in that, and good luck in the final match.
Thank you.
And we are going to be going on a quick break while we prepare the next match.
Welcome back, guys. We are back at the North American Collegiate Hearthstone Open, hosted by TeSPA. We're here in the Twitch area at wonderful Pax here in Seattle, and it's the final day, and we are down to just the last few matches. We have the second semifinal match coming up between our players Dominus and TeSPA. They both won 2-0 in their opening round matches in the round of 8. Very, very good performances for both. We saw a little bit of off the beaten path from, I believe it was TeSPA, who brought a face hunter instead of the standard mid-range hunter. And Dominus had what looked like some very, very close games and actually ended up with some very strong lines of play and I believe won with a standard more mid-range hunter.
And TeSPA's going to enjoy some of the same success. If he brought face hunter as kind of a response to normal hunter, face hunter is slightly favored against that. And it's also slightly favored against Miracle Rogue. So TeSPA may be able to ride that to 2 of the decks that Dominus is doing well with.
But now that we're in a best of 5, I think it's unlikely for either of their hunter decks probably to go the whole way. I would have to imagine that TeSPA, either with his face hunter or with something else, will be able to hopefully take a game for him off of his opponent's hunter. And Dominus, if he opens with it as well, if they both open hunter, I'm not sure how it's going to go. But I have to imagine that Dominus will have a response for the face hunter if he needs one.
That's right. We actually talked with Dominus earlier about what he thinks about the hunter matchup, and we'll be able to we'll talk about his response to the hunter if he should choose to choose into the hunter.
And our players have made their choices, and this first game of the series is going to be hunterless. So we're actually going to see a completely different matchup and see what is in their lineup besides just the things that we saw them 2-0 with.
All right, TeSPA, Void Terror and Doomguard. He is going to be running a Zoo deck, and he's going to be running a few interesting cards like Void Terror. Void Terror coming back in because of Naxxramas. Going to keep just the Flame Imp, it seems, and that's good because he's looking to get that double 1-drop.
Yeah, especially since he has the coin, he wants as much of an early game as he can. He mulligans a Doomguard into a Doomguard and then gets a double Defender.
That was a rough hand. Dominus is considering keeping the Gadget Stand or throwing the Gadget Stand. He decides to throw. He probably would have kept it if he knew the opponent was handlocked, but he can't be sure.
He keeps a Fan of Knives, so he is trying to make sure that he's safe against a possible Zoo start. Fan of Knives itself doesn't necessarily get the job done, but any AE is better than no AE.
That's right. And he's got the preparation to go with the Fan of Knives, so he can rush into a start against it. And he draws an Earthen Ring Farseer, which is a good draw to get.
It's certainly better than nothing. The heal, of course, is very welcome against any type of aggressive deck, and it represents a board presence as well, which is something that you need at some point to at least trade with one or hopefully more of your opponent's cards. The Flame Imp means that it would probably only trade 1-1. Dominus has the option, though, of playing the Dagger and even prepping to Fan of Knives or Poison. He decides not to do that this turn.
Right, that would be a little bit extreme. TeSPA picks up Power Overwhelming. This is actually going to be a fairly weak start on Zoo. And Zoo, do you think Nax in general has helped Zoo versus Miracle Rogue or the other way around?
I actually think the matchup is about the same as it used to be. The main points of the matchup are all still there. Zoo ends up, of course, being the aggressor. And some of the cards that you play in Zoo now are actually a little bit slower. They're more difficult to remove ultimately. But Miracle Rogue, of course, it just wants to survive just long enough to turn the game around and burst you down really quick. So Zoo, I think, is still about the same. You're trading a little bit more raw early damage for a little bit more stickiness, and it ends up playing out very similarly. Cards like the Void Terror that we saw, though, do really help enable some of those slower cards like Nerubian Egg and stuff like that. So TeSPA ends up picking up Dire Wolf Alpha this turn. So he did coin out the Harvest Golem. It was his only real play last turn. And so now he's going to have to decide if he wants to trade in either the front end of his Harvest Golem or just let go of his Flame Imp.
I myself am more inclined to trade here. Well, with the Harvest Golem is what I was actually going to say, since you can't count on the Direwolf Alpha there. But the Flame Imp I can understand also, since rogues have a lot of way to deal 2 damage, including SI7 Agent and Backstab.
Even just the hero power that's already in play, the dagger that's already equipped, he knows that the broken golem would probably not survive the turn. This represents the best chance for both minions to survive long enough to hit Defender of Argus. It's a little bit similar, but I think that that's sort of why he made that play. He wants to try to hit 2 minions with Defender of Argus if possible.
Right.
Dominus is trying to figure out his best way to play around this current board. And his opponent is going into 4 mana, and he knows that his opponent didn't have like 2 3-drops in a row. And he decides to just take out the Harvest Golem. And so there is only going to be 1 minion in play for Defender of Argus. If Tichu doesn't draw something else really nice, he will just play Defender and bash in. Dark Iron Dwarf actually is a little bit better. So it's not much better. It still does die to Eviscerate, so Eviscerate plus Dagger. And he actually draws a Shiv instead, so he could, oh my goodness, he could make a gigantic Edwin this turn.
And he is going to go for it, and this is a really strong turn for the Miracle Rogue, dealing with everything the Zoo has while also putting out an enormous 8/8. And Zoos generally don't have a way to deal with this. Some run Owl with power overwhelming and Void Tear. It's tough to fit that in.
An 8/8 Edwin is a really, really big problem for Zoo. One of the best matchups for Edwin is this matchup, and sometimes other matchups it just doesn't feel powerful enough. And I've even gone to the point of experimenting with cutting Edwin from the deck entirely, and to mixed results. And this is the matchup though where you miss it the most. But he's got it. He's got an 8/8 Edwin.
Yeah, it's looking really good for Dominus. Dominus going to be able to clear the board yet again without utilizing his Edwin. And he's even going to be able to advance his cause by getting a Gnomish Inventor out.
Oh, wow. And he picks up Leroy to pair with that Shadow Step. Wow. So at this point, he just bashes in with the weapon to kill the Night Juggler, and he's just going to get in there for 8 damage.
That's right. And if Tichu doesn't have anything, he's got the kill next turn. Dominus does. And Tichu can play Hunter Creeper and Defender of Argus, but all of these are like insects to the Edwin Van Cleef.
It will chip away at his health, and that is almost certainly going to be the play that is made. And at this point, there's still a way for him to break through pretty much immediately. And he's decided that he's got it. He's going to get in there for easily enough damage.
Right. Able to take care of both taunts, and Leroy for 12. That was a brutal game.
That was a very, very brutal game. Edwin coming up big. One of the cards that really helps swing the matchup as well is Preparation. Using Preparation without an Auctioneer is sometimes something where people tell you, no, don't do that. In the Zoo matchup especially, using Preparation as a pseudo Innervate is usually really good, and definitely at its best when you compare it with Edwin.
Exactly. Not just Innervate, but also a +2/+2 on your minion for 0 mana. That's really good.
Really, really strong play there. Really punishing draw against the Zoo player, and the Zoo player had sort of a weak draw as well. He had almost enough pressure to really push through, but the Rogue player had the early removal and the follow-up Edwin.
And let's jump into our next game. Tichu has, as a bit expected, chosen to go with the Face Hunter against Miracle Rogue, which has traditionally been an excellent draw. Tichu actually has replaced all of his cards into a excellent hand, and Dominus doing much the same.
So Tichu is going to have a lot of early pressure. Dominus just going to pass his turn 1. It's going to be a while before he's able to really do anything with that hand. Okay. Tichu, on the other hand, draws even a second Mad Scientist, so if he wants to, he can just go turn 1, Mad Scientist, turn 2, Mad Scientist, which can be very, very annoying to deal with.
That's right. He had a lot of different ways to play it with Mad Scientist or even turn 1 Leper Gnome, Web Spinner. Chooses to play this to play around the dagger a bit more.
Dominus picks up a Backstab, and he decides not to play it now. The reason why is because he wants to combo with the SI7 next turn. It is actually going to work out, but it's going to leave his opponent potentially with 2 traps. Tichu could play both of the 1-drops, but he decides just to play another Mad Scientist. This is going to let Dominus clear both of them out, which he's happy to do, but it does mean that, you know, there's a lot of resources still in play.
All right, well, the first one wasn't Explosive Trap. If it were, Dominus would feel really happy about it.
Yeah.
So, unfortunate random outcome there. And Tichu got the order in Freezing Trap and then Explosive Trap.
It was really strong sequencing from Dominus. Unfortunately for him, he's not rewarded for the correct sequencing. It just sort of plays out with both traps staying in play. So Tichu now on his turn has both traps. He doesn't really have a really great play this turn, so he decides to just play the Buzzard and sort of cycle it for one.
Right. It's being basically used as a novice engineer type role right now. It's really difficult to get Valley out of the Buzzard against the Miracle Rogue.
Dominus reached for his Fan and Eyes immediately at the beginning of his turn, but he's sort of considering what the traps are going to be and wondering if that's going to change anything. Now that he has attacked into freezing, he probably will just play the Fan.
And cool. Boom, Explosive Trap to not to that much effect.
So he could just play a 2-2 Edwin, but that's not exciting. So he does just decide to Fan, and he's going to have to decide if he wants to attack with a dagger. He may or he may not. The 1 damage is not that relevant, so he decides to hold on to it in case there's more traps to break.
Right. Really important to hold on to it because this face rogue runs many cards which have 1 health. So if you don't have to use the 2 mana to do it, that's really good for you.
Now that we're back on the Hunter's turn, we have the 3rd King Crush of the tournament off of Web Spinner, which is really crazy. I don't know what the odds on that are, but you know, I'm sure someone out there is crunching the numbers and you know, bust out your calculator and figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, we have some Blizzard guys over here at PAX. They've got their Blizzard booth. Maybe they've arranged Web Spinner to be a bit more exciting this time around.
The card already is really exciting on its own, I think. I was mentioning earlier, it's actually one of my favorite cards. Certainly among my favorite from Nax.
All right, Miracle Rogue doing really well. Entering the Hunter's turn 5, he's above. I think the general idea of when face is doing well is if you can get your opponent to like 15. Ooh. We've got the Hunter's Mark being drawn and 2 cards being drawn with the Buzzard. That's excellent. Tichu cannot contain his excitement.
The cursor going a little bit crazy there. Perhaps he was thinking maybe he shouldn't use the Hunter's Mark, but I can't see a reason why not. So he does just sort of bash in there. And at this point, he's probably going to hold on to his bow because he's drawn 2 traps. So he is at a relatively healthy 29 life. Dominus has picked up Leroy, so he's got Leroy, Shadow Step, double Abyss, and he's probably trying to figure out how he can start chipping away so that he can actually use that burst to finish off the game.
Right, one of the big things when playing Miracle Rogue is just counting up your damage and seeing how you can reverse back up into that. So right now with the Leroy and the Shadow Step, that's 12. You've got 8 from the Eviscerate. So he needs to find a way to deal 9 damage.
Right. And he's just going to take out the Buzzard, which makes a lot of sense. And this does leave him at 17, and he's got a Gnomish Inventor. So he does have a long road and, a lot to climb. An Animal Companion is a good draw. Leok, unfortunately, not the best get on it. He's trying to attack with it again. That one's not a huffer, buddy. I'm really sorry.
Yep. From Tichu's point of view, he's got that King Crush crushing in for 8 damage on turn 9, so he needs to find a way to deal only about 9 damage. 8 damage now.
Snake Trap comes in, and he decides for Snake instead of freezing. So he's really hoping that his opponent doesn't have any more AE.
Or even more importantly, he decided Snake instead of Hero ability, which looks like his way of chipping in the damage.
That will probably make it look most like Freezing Trap. So if he is going to sort of trick his opponent into activating a Snake Trap, now would be the time that it's most likely to happen. With that in mind, it's probably a pretty reasonably good play. Dominus will certainly consider at least attacking the boar with his dagger to clear it out.
Well, but that'll create 3 snakes.
But he doesn't know that.
Well, he does now that he attacked with the Gnomish.
Okay. So he knows that he does know that it's not freezing.
It's going to be pretty tough. Looks like he's going to have to use one of the Eviscerates to kill the 2/4 just to make sure he stays alive for a bit longer.
There is no punish for leaving the boar up in terms of risk of, I guess, Houndmaster in this deck being the more face.
I mean, there is
Hunter
kill
deck.
command, though.
There is kill command, so that is true. That kill command, is activated by the beast being in play.
Right. In fact, I think with kill right now, one of the rogue's fears right now is that there is kill command. Let's see, that would be 5, 6, 9, 11 damage, and then like double kill command wins or kill command Leroy. Fortunately, Tichu doesn't have it.
He was trying to, I think Dominus was most trying to figure out if he should attack the face with the dagger or not.
Ah, I see.
And whether or not he'll be able to remake a dagger soon.
Tichu giving the audience a bit of a foreshadowing. King Crush, I think, is going to be the finisher this game.
It's possible. He's really close to winning next turn, depending on what he draws. And if he doesn't win next turn, there may be an opening for Dominus to finally get through the damage that he needs. This Azure Drake will be doing something this turn, at least, that we know of. Unfortunately, Dominus doesn't have a great answer even to just the Wolf Rider, though.
Yeah, and even more importantly, it doesn't have an answer to Snake Trap. And the Snake Trap will end up doing quite a bit of damage in the case that is triggered.
He has to pretty much avoid the Stone Tusk Boar for now until forever, until he finds a good answer for the snakes.
What he can do is he can do Eviscerate and SI7 Agent and clear both off without attacking either of them.
Yes, he could. I think he will very strongly consider that. He can do it with the 5 mana SI
something
as well.
Right, right. And then the only way to activate that is with Deadly Poison, which is okay. Deadly Poison. Oh no, he doesn't have. He can't play both unless he plays Shadow Step, which seems poor right now.
I think it's really unlikely for him to play Shadow Step at this point. Now, this Freezing Trap triggering does give Tichu another weapon charge. He does get one more durability on there. So the likelihood for Tichu to win the game within 2 turns is very high. The potential to win next turn is there, but it would be on the back of something like Leroy or Huffer or something like that.
That's right. Dominus has got to be thinking of the same thing that, well, he's got me the next turn, so I can't really clear. And I like this. He's playing to win. Like, sure, this looks like it loses more times and you can be safe to clear the board, but this sets it up so that he's got a serious chance of winning the next turn.
I really like this line of play. I think that Dominus realizes that his opponent has very limited resources. An Iron Beak Owl comes out, which is not going to do it.
Oh man, has Dominus found the path to victory?
This was a very, very difficult game to win if he does win it. And some very strong play, really sort of hanging on by a thread. Tichu's start this game was really strong. He never found the punishing charge damage forever to follow it up.
Or like a kill command here. That would have been critical.
But Dominus has found the win. He's going to be crashing in with all of his minions, including Leroy. And that's going to end up doing it. He's going to take the game with Miracle Rogue against Hunter, against not even your average Hunter, but really this more difficult to deal with.
Yeah, that is not what Tichu wanted to do, because that was his counter deck to the Miracle.
That was his main counter. So now he's really going to have his back up against the wall, dealing with this Miracle deck when all he's got left is this Druid.
Now, one of the things that we've seen a lot of this tournament is Snake Trap, and I think this tournament is kind of showing why Snake Trap is perhaps not so good. The Snake Trap did nothing here, although his opponent did have to play around it quite a bit, and Snake Trap in general hasn't been performing that well here.
It's been okay, but I think Snake Trap is at its best in the matchups that are more mid-range / control in a classic way. These opposing Hunter decks, and when you are also running into these things like Miracle Rogue, it is a lot weaker in those matchups, or certainly feels like it, and you're right to say that it has looked a little bit on the weak side.
That's right. We haven't seen a lot of the Warrior control or the Priest control or Druid control, Shaman control as or Handlock that, yeah. Of course, Handlock being dodged away from in this tournament because everyone is running Hunter.
We'll have to see how this next game goes. We do get to see Miracle Rogue against Druid. In the past, Miracle Rogue has been favored against Druid, but the Druid decks that try to be a little bit faster and have the better early board presence and play double Savage Roar have often done very well against Miracle Rogue. So we'll have to see how this matchup plays out, whether or not our Druid player is playing that shade of Nax Rammus double 2-drop type of deck.
Right. And Dominus is privy of this and is considering keeping the Fan of Knives against the Creeper, which will leave 2 1/1s. I think this is a good keep against what you would expect from a Druid. A terrible keep from against the Druids of past. Tichu had in his opening hand a Azure Drake and a Gnomish Inventor. So this looks like a slower type of control Druid.
Yeah, the Druid deck that Tichu has, we haven't seen it yet, and it looks like it's not the Strife Crow / Kalento Cloud9 Druid deck that we've seen some of the other players using. And I wonder if that's going to throw Dominus off at all.
Dominus has one of the best openings against best hands against the control Druid. Tichu taking it slow with Innervate Harvest Golem is fast, but in terms of fastness, that's one of the lowest threats you can get out that early.
Right. You certainly nowadays would much prefer a Shade of Nax Rammus on turn 1 if you're going to be innervating a play. The Harvest Golem does get something going, but it doesn't do enough damage to threaten to win the game by itself.
That's right.
So he will have to pair it with hopefully something else that he can draw or play.
I mean, that's what you want when up against a Rogue. You got to put on pressure so that Dominus can't just do something like Gadget Sand, Coin, Conceal. Unfortunately, that is the dream, and Dominus is realizing the dream. Tichu opens another Innervate, but has nothing good to Innervate into, and is unfortunately forced to turn 2 hero ability, turn 3 hero ability.
Tichu drew his second Innervate, which at this point is probably not what he wanted to see. Dominus has a stacked hand. He is down to 24, but the outlook is certainly very bright.
Yeah.
He gets to take out the Harvest Golem in its entirety this turn.
Extremely efficiently.
Very efficiently, and do so in a way that leaves him with the dagger still in play. The 3/1 dagger ready to go.
That's very nice.
Tichu has drawn Haunted Creeper on his turn. So that gives him the potential to do something like Creeper plus Argus.
Right.
But even that is really unexciting. Creeper on turn 4 is already unexciting.
Yes,
so
it is.
Tichu is sort of really losing steam here, and Dominus is just about to get started in maybe 1 turn from now.
That's right. So this turn is kind of the calm before the storm. Could consider hitting the Spider and then Fan of Knives.
I think it's likely for Dominus to clear out the Creeper this turn so that he can know that there is the least amount of stuff possible opposing him when he does throw down his Auctioneer. He hasn't drawn a single prep yet, and so he may find one. If he does, and he already has Sap in hand, the Auctioneer turn will be extremely powerful.
That's right. And we've seen Tichu's hand as well. He doesn't have anything that great he can play on turn 5, even with the Innervate.
He really doesn't. One of the best cards that he could draw would be an Ancient of Lore, so he can actually use the Innervate and hopefully find more things towards the win. But as it stands, Tichu playing a deck that wants to have early board presence for a turn 4 Defender of Argus. Instead, Defender of Argus sat in his hand. Dominus can't really decide how he wants to play it.
That's a weird way to play it.
And he decides he just wants to cycle his Fan, but not attack the Creeper.
I see. Yeah, I mean, he saves the blade, the weapon for the Blade Flurry. That's an inspired way of playing.
He does have the Blade Flurry, and that's the reasoning behind it. Blade Flurry, very powerful against Druid. It's powerful against a lot of things, to be honest, and especially when you already have a Deadly Poison weapon in play. So he's preserving the weapon. He's saying, I'm not sure if I'm going to draw another Deadly Poison anytime soon, and I wouldn't want to turn off most of my Blade Flurry.
Yep, Tichu forced to play this 2/4 with 5 mana, essentially, and deal 2 damage to the face. Not that great, and he has managed to get the opponent down to 18 at least, which is a little bit of pressure, but here we go. Gadget Coin Conceal to start us off.
All right, what deals do you have for us today, buddy? An Assassin's Blade shows up, so we know that he's running a blade. A lot of people have cut it recently. Some people are still keeping it in.
All right, well, that's some good news for Tichu. No preparation draw. So this is going to be the turn where Tichu is going to be able to put on the most damage. Looks like it's going to be 6.
At this point, Tichu is actually very much still in the game. He's holding an Innervate and a Savage Roar, and I imagine his deck is probably running at least one,
Probably two.
if not probably two
Actually, we should
copies
say
of
probably.
Force of Nature.
That's right.
He is playing a little bit slower of a deck. He's playing both Azure Drake and Gnomish Inventor. So he might not be playing both copies of the combo, but it still is pretty likely. And if he picks one up, he's going to be able to just win on turn 7.
That's right. And he's got 34 health, so he's got a good amount of time to do it. The Earthen Ring Farseer pickup by Dominus is going to allow him to stabilize if he manages to clear the board, since the combo does 14 damage, quite famously, the Force of Nature and Savage Roar.
He's deciding here if he wants to Blade Flurry or Sap. He goes with a Blade Flurry, which actually is probably the correct play. He draws into a prep, but he doesn't have anything great to prep right now. He's basically holding a weapon and infinity minions.
He's thinking about prepping. He's like, what's the worst thing that I could draw? Oh, that's...
Deadly Poison's probably not where you want to be.
Yeah.
And sapping that is not really where you want to be either.
Yeah, he was hoping to draw something else.
It is perhaps not the worst. Sapping it and drawing another card, considering your hand is not that great, is probably better than the alternative. Tichu ends up drawing an Argent Commander, which is yet another card that gets him closer to the win, but doesn't get him quite there yet.
Oh boy, he's going for it, so that's 8 damage to him. So he's setting up for swipe win next turn, and he can even deal an extra 2 damage on top of that. However, Dominus does have the Earthen Ring Farseer and does have Shadow Step, and he's still got the Gadgets and Auctioneer out.
He certainly had the option of just swiping the Auctioneer, or maybe even just running his Argent into it. But he decides that he wants to win with the hand he has instead of the cards he could draw.
That's right. And I approve of that play, because even Druid's basically up against the wall, so he has to try to go for something even though it's unlikely.
I would be really worried about the Earthen Ring. When your opponent has a Gadgetzan Auctioneer in play already, you usually operate under the assumption that they could probably find it if they don't have it already. So his opponent is now at 7. He still is potentially in the game, and he decides not to Shadow Step the Earthen Ring before playing Edwin. Perhaps he wants to leave Edwin as a 6/6 intentionally to dodge
Big game
Hunter. Druid is the class that is probably most likely to play
I
Big
think
Game
Dominus
Hunter.
is counting his damage for next turn. He may not Shadow Step the Earthen, which I feel would be a gigantic mistake.
I also think it would be a mistake. There would be a lot more outs for your opponent to win if you don't Shadow Step it, but
All right, he is going for it.
it wouldn't be completely unreasonable either.
I think it would be very unreasonable since he died of Force of Nature and the hero ability. But he's going for it, so Tichu is in a lot of trouble here.
He's in a lot of trouble, and I don't know if there was anything he really could have even drawn. And now the writing is really on the wall for Tichu, and he's going to be looking at this hand. He might even just play the Azure Drake in order to dig for a card that won't be there. There is no card. Swipe plus Keeper of the Grove, I guess, takes it down to only 5 damage visible.
Right, but that is not going to... I think what Tichu needs to do, or at least when you're in this type of hopeless situation, you have to be like, okay, well, maybe my opponent is not holding Leroy Jenkins. And then I will draw in the Force of Nature with the Azure Drake, and then I will draw a Savage for a naturally.
I think what I probably would have done I would have swiped to the face and put him at 6 and wrapped the Auctioneer and said go, and just hope that your 9 damage showing isn't enough to kill me. It would be very unlikely, but then if you draw Force of Nature, you win.
That's a good call.
Regardless, none of those circumstances would have happened. Dominus does pick up the win, crashes in. Giant monsters created. Auctioneer had some sweet deals that game.
Did. And a big congratulations to Tichu, 3-0ing at the Miracle Rogue.
Miracle Rogue, still really powerful. It's fallen out of favor a little bit, but it is certainly still very strong and a really powerful contender. And Tichu showing that he knows what he's doing with it.
That's right.
And he's going to be a real force in the final.
Yeah. And right after this break, we will have Tichu join us for an interview.
All right. Well, I'll be looking forward to that.
So you're a group of passionate students who love gaming and want to take things to the next level on your campus. Enter TeSPA. We're the premier college gaming network that gives tangible support to the biggest and best college esports groups in the world. As your group grows, you'll be looking to put on awesome events that have your whole campus talking. Introducing the TeSPA Membership Benefits Program. Just for joining TeSPA, you'll get a bunch of sweet perks right away. We'll get you started with a totally customizable web portal and newsletter. Want to turn some heads? Personalized banners and custom tablecloths should do the trick. We'll even throw in our top secret how-to manual that will literally shower you in esports wisdom. As your group grows, you gain access to more and more benefits. Need free production equipment and hardware rentals to support your events? You got it. And big bags of cash? We can help your events out with those as well. If that wasn't enough, every member of your chapter receives a t-shirt, exclusive in-game items, and even an annual membership gift. So what could you possibly be waiting for? Make your mark on the world of esports and apply to become a chapter today.
Hey guys, we're back, and I am here with Dominus, the winner of the second semifinal match, who is now headed to the finals. And he 3-0'd with Miracle Rogue. Some very, very strong play, and I'm going to have a couple questions for him. I'm curious to see what he thinks about what already happened, what he's going to be doing in the final, and maybe just sort of how you got here a little bit. How did you get here? What was some of your path through the tournament?
A lot of Miracle.
A lot of Miracle.
Like the first week of the tournament was actually pre like OP Hunter before the Mad Scientist. So Miracle was probably the strongest deck. So that really helped me get through the first week. And then second week was when Mad Scientists were introduced. But even then, like Hunter wasn't like as popular. So Miracle still did a lot of work. So you know, I used that, a bit of luck, and I was able to get through.
How do you feel the matchup of Miracle Rogue versus Face Hunter is, and were you worried when you knew that he was Face Hunter and you had to play Miracle against it?
It's funny because when you prepare 3 decks for a tournament, it's very hard to be so well-rounded that no deck can counter you. And I was talking to several people, and my lineup is a bit weak to Face Hunter. And a lot of people said, you know, no one really runs Face Hunter anymore. Like the Face Hunter that Teacher was running with Wolf Riders, you rarely see that anymore. So I was like, I'll just bank on me never seeing that in the tournament. And then, you know, in comes Face Hunter, so I'm going, oh god. But like you know, Miracle Rogue is definitely an unfavorable matchup. But I got a bit lucky. He didn't draw all the damage when he needed to, and I was able to pull out the win.
You did find some really strong lines of play to make it through that game. We were both pretty impressed with that while we were following along through the games. And it was definitely a difficult matchup to win, even though it looked really easy. But it was pretty nice. You mentioned, I believe, in a questionnaire that you had been skydiving in Israel. Do you consider yourself a really adventurous person?
I like to do adventurous things. Like I've also gone like parasailing and stuff like that. But I like to be like I consider myself outgoing, adventurous, perhaps. I mean, it's hard to classify myself as that.
So would you say that the skydiving itself was a bit out of your comfort zone?
Definitely. I mean, I love to do things out of my comfort zone, and like that was one of the things that me and my brother had planned to do. And it's just, it was very out of my comfort zone. But I was very excited and happy that I did it.
So if this is your, I think perhaps, if this is your first live event playing on this type of stage, is this outside your comfort zone? And do you think that being willing to do things like that in the past and put yourself out there and sort of stretch your comfort zone a bit has helped you with nerves or anything like that in this tournament?
I think that's a very good point. I never actually thought about that. But I think for sure doing things out of my comfort zone has helped me with this tournament. Also, like I just recently started getting to like online Hearthstone tournaments. So playing like the tournaments online, although they're not like live tournaments, they do help prepare you for an event like this. Because once you get in the game, you just realize it's another game. And you just play like how you always would.
Do you think that it was a difficult transition though, sort of mentally preparing for just ladder games compared to becoming a tournament player or figuring out what the tournament scene was like and how to prepare? Was that a really difficult thing, or do you think that it mirrored your ladder experience enough that it was you sort of just, I'll just play these decks I know?
I think it's definitely a very difficult transition because it's a very different experience, tournament games and ladder games. You can be very good in tournament using a deck like Miracle Rogue, but usually like one deck can actually get you through a tournament. You do have to be very well rounded, and like I said, you have to play a list that's very well rounded. You can't just play what you like. You have to be very heads up on that. And you really have to know the metagame really well.
All right. Well, I think maybe I have one more question, and I mentioned this earlier. I think it was going into your first match. Okay. You said what card best represents you and why, and you said King Mukla because you love bananas. And I said if there's anyone with a potassium deficiency in this tournament, it's certainly not you. Do you just eat bananas every day, or
I do,
just thought
actually.
It was funny?
It's funny. I ate it with my breakfast and lunch, so I thought, you know what? Love this card. Why not?
Yeah. All right. Well, we are going to be headed into the finals pretty soon. We're going to have the third and fourth place match first, so you do have a little bit of time to sit on it, and then we'll be headed into the finals. So try not to freak out too much. Go, take a breather or whatever you need to do. Maybe just watch the match. Okay, but we will be taking a short break before we do get to that third, fourth match. Which, by the way, guys, that third, fourth match is relevant to the players very much because the winner gets a spot for the North American regional event. The loser, unfortunately, will still have the experience, but they won't be getting that spot. You did earn a spot, so congratulations on that, if nothing else.
Thank you.
And best of luck in the finals.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
All right, you guys, we're ready to get back into our games. We've got the third, fourth place matchup between Tichu and Sniped again. Both of them fell short in the semifinals and did not make it to the final, but the tournament is not over yet for them. Sniped Again is playing for pride and a little, I believe, a little bit of extra share of prize.
That's right.
As where Tichu is playing additionally for the spot at the regionals. Sniped Again is already qualified. Tichu's not. If he wins, he'll get the spot. If he doesn't, he'll be a little bit more unhappy, a little bit more sad. But definitely going to be a good match. Two very strong players. They fell short in the semis, but the third, fourth place match will be coming up in just a moment. Sniped Again did really well with Miracle Rogue in the first match. Tichu's got that aggro hunter as part of his lineup. Really interesting preparation. I don't know what they're going to open with, but they're getting into the game right now, and we're going to get to see their mulligans and see what they're going to do with this match.
All right, let's see if Tichu manages to bring this back from, oh, wow. So here's something that we've already seen from his Druid deck that's way different. He's playing Undertaker.
So we didn't see that card last time when he played, and Undertaker is really interesting in Druid. We know that he has both Azure Drake and Gnomish Inventor in his deck. It's apparently a very curve-oriented deck, especially now that we see the Undertaker. That means that he might not have Echoing Ooze in his deck like we've seen from some others, or Shade of Naxxramas.
That's right. I wouldn't expect either of those cards to be in. Sniped Again is hopefully he paid attention to the deck from before and knows that this is not the Echoing Ooze type deck. He is going to probably be surprised by the Undertaker, though, which is traditionally in the more aggressive type of Druid.
Turn 1 Undertaker, turn 2 Coin Harvest Golem is pretty nice as far as Druid openers go.
Oh,
and he even has the option, if he wants to play double Undertaker. He won't have a turn 2 follow-up if he does, at least not that we know of yet.
That's right. It would be the dream to top deck a loot order off of this if he's running it. Looks like he's going to go for the safer play and not just go all in like that.
I can respect the safe play there. If he draws a turn 2 Haunted Creeper, he will be sad, but it would have been unlikely, so I definitely understand it. His opponent just daggers up and passes, so he does get to Coin Harvest Golem.
Oh, and Sniped Again has just commented mistakes were made. I wonder if he wanted to attack the Undertaker with his dagger, perhaps.
No, I think that there's a little bit of banter going on with the emotes here. I think they're just being playful from what I can tell. Just an empty board SI7.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't have a great way to combo it. He didn't want to use up his preparation. Undertaker number 2 looking like it might come down here.
I'm wondering just how many Death Rattles are in this Druid deck, since they're none in hand, and he's running Gnomish and Azure Drake. Seems like a unlikely fit.
He decides to give up his Undertaker instead of the front end of his Harvest Golem. So he's protecting his Death Rattle minion, and instead of trying to preserve his Undertaker to potentially grow more.
It takes a lot of discipline, and part of it is because he doesn't have a Death Rattle in hand, I would imagine.
So Sniped Again decides to use up a sap just on Harvest Golem.
Wow.
And it looks like the reason for that is because he knows he's going to be following with Azure Drakes.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to not be behind when he does it. And Gnomish Inventor comes down on Tichu's side, so a little bit of a reveal there. I believe the players saw it. We did see it last time. But Sniped Again just responds with the Azure Drake. So he gets to take out the Undertaker as well. It did not grow. There was no Death Rattle available for Tichu. So going back to Tichu's turn, he has access to an Innervate, and he's looking at an opposing Azure Drake. He has an answer in Swipe if he wants it. He can also just play minions and ignore it. He could even just play Loetheb and force his opponent to just have more minions himself. But it's definitely an interesting choice. He also has the Innervate, so he could do something like Swipe plus Harvest Golem. There's a lot of choices.
I myself would have been more inclined to do something along the lines of Innervate Ancient of Lore, but that may be because I love the value from that.
It does leave him with a relatively strong board against this Miracle Rogue. Sniped Again does have another Azure Drake, but this is the last real draw that he has. He's holding double prep, no Auctioneer. So if Tichu can take care of the Azure Drake and Sniped Again continues to draw blanks, it's going to be a very, very difficult game for Sniped Again to win.
That's right. Of course, one of the big fears of the Miracle Rogue is never drawing into the Miracle Enabler or the Gadgetzan Auctioneer.
It is certainly the primary build-around card, and the full combo has shown up for Tichu.
And that means that Tichu only needs to do 6 more damage.
Tichu decides that he's going to continue to sort of play safe and play defense and use what he can as removal. He does have an Ancient Allure in hand, and he's at 29 life. So it really is on Sniped again to build a winning board and have a winning hand, which, as far as we can tell right now, he doesn't have. Tichu in the driver's seat. Even though his opponent has a 3-3, we know at this point that that's really all he's got. How afraid are you of the 3-3 if you're Tichu? Do you just play Ancient Allure and draw 2 cards?
Yeah, I was thinking along the lines of, yeah, this looks like the perfect curve. You do that, and then, oh, another Savage Roar. That's not that useful right now. But he's got a really good curve of Ancient Allure into Lotheb to lock things down into the turn 9.
Yeah, Lotheb going in before his turn 9 is going to be very, very strong.
Sniped again with a good read that he's going to be dead soon, so even though it hurts to give your opponent the Ancient Allure back in hand.
Yeah, sapping the choose one, not battle cry minion, but the choose one minion. Not usually what you want to do, but considering his hand, it is almost certainly the right play.
Combo.
Double wombo combo through and through. I don't think he's going to be playing both full combos this game.
I actually think he might. So at a time like this, you just have to worry about losing. So
I think that Lotheb keeps you safe from just losing.
that's right. And then you play more guys to possibly win the next turn. There was possibly yeah, this has got to be the best way to do it.
Perhaps he doesn't win next turn, even as far as we know, just killing the 5-5. But he's going to leave it alive. I respect the play, considering his hand is so poor. Getting in that extra 7 damage he might feel is the only way he can win. And I like it a lot, but unfortunately for him, Tichu has the combo ready to go, and not killing Lotheb is going to be death.
That's true, but let's hear it for Sniped Again's spirit there.
I really like that play, despite it ending up being a losing play. I really like it a lot. Tichu, with the consideration towards some BM, decides against it.
You know, in case he miscalculates and accidentally dies, that would be rather bad.
They did have some playful banter there at the beginning of the game with the emotes going back and forth. Some well-played spam, I believe I saw even. I believe that was on Tichu's side. So Druid takes the first game. The Miracle Rogue not really doing anything miraculous there. And double prep in hand, and Auctioneer did not want to show up. So he was in hide mode. And now, Sniped again, he has to bring out a Hunter against the Druid.
Looking good for the Druid so far with Innervate and Haunted Creeper. Sniped Again's side will start with a Web Spinner and Mad Scientist.
The Innervate is usually something you do want to see in your opening hand. Sniped Again has a great hand as well. He's got a 1-drop, a 2-drop, and even another 2-drop, and all ones that represent doing something else. Tichu picks up Undertaker to open with, and he's got a Death Rattle to follow it up, and he does have a really, really strong curve.
That's really good. There's, oh my gosh, another Innervate. So there's some consideration. That's 6 mana? Not quite enough to play everything. But he's going to go with Undertaker. There's some consideration to do Undertaker and Haunted Creeper.
It looks like that is what he's going to do, and I do like that play. It makes a lot of sense. You're going to have a hard time using both Innervates really effectively, and it gets the Haunted Creeper developed right now, which is very good at killing off that Web Spinner.
Ooh, draws into the Druid of the Claw, which can be Innervate coined out if he so desires, and he's going to go for it. We've got strong hands from both players here.
Now that you have the giant taunt minion, are you ignoring the Mad Scientist, do you think?
I think that's a good call to do. I'll let him sacrifice his guy to draw his secret.
Yeah, this way now the Undertaker will be safe from an explosive trap as well. And Freezing Trap, there's already a Haunted Creeper in play to take care of the Freezing Trap.
Right, he's really hoping that this is going to be Freezing Trap because of the Haunted Creeper. No matter what it is, it won't be too bad.
So Sniped again had a great curve, but Tichu with the double Innervate draw.
Into Harvest Golem on this turn, too. That's even better. It looks like this is Snake Trap.
This is a pretty perfect curve.
This is the best curve ever.
And considering it is Snake Trap, it almost could not be any better for Tichu. He gets to keep growing his Undertaker. He doesn't lose a single part of his board. Undertaker gets silenced, so Sniped again trying to fight against the board as much as he can. He probably, I'm very surprised he did not suicide his Mad Scientist there.
Huh.
So had he suicided his Mad Scientist and gotten an Explosive Trap, the bear would have been taken care of along with the Undertaker.
That's right. I suppose he's also considering, though, that he could lose the flip and get a Freezing Trap, in which case that's going to hit like the Undertaker, and then that would be rather bad.
So the curve continues to be perfect for Tichu. Although, Sniped again is holding Unleash the Hound.
Oh boy. If he draws Buzzard here, that's going to get him back into the game in a big way. Oh my gosh.
Buzzard off the top. So he has to
Wow.
decide how he wants to do it here. He's probably going to sack off the Scientist first.
Right. He would ideally want to... So here's the bit of a problem. If he sacks the Scientist, he doesn't get to draw 5 cards. But if he doesn't, he only draws 4 cards anyways, so...
Yeah.
Whoa. Oh, I see. Oh,
yeah.
that's good.
So he does get
Right.
5 cards.
That's excellent.
So very, very good sequencing from Sniped again. He gets to refill his whole board. The bad news is he's at 12 life to start his comeback. The big swing turn here might not end up being that big of a swing. He doesn't even get a hunter. It doesn't look like he's going to get a hunter's mark either. So even that Gnomish Inventor, that Harvest Golem, those guys are going to end up sticking around. They're not going anywhere.
He
And
may feel desperate enough to trade 2 1-1s into the 1-2 even.
I would imagine that that's what's going to happen. He'll be dead to Savage Roar either way, but something is better than nothing at this point.
Actually, he doesn't quite die to Savage Roar. It's only 11 damage.
Only 11, okay.
This Buzzard draw was huge, and it allows him to have a glimmer of hope.
So now that he knows that it's Snake Trap, he may even consider being willing to trigger it this turn. It will let his opponent draw 3 cards, but really he'll only be drawing 2 cards because his natural draw will get burned off. 2 additional cards, I guess, than what he would have had. And that is quite a lot, but it would also let him deal with the current board in a way where he gets to kill everything.
You can also do that without making him draw the cards, like if you wanted to clear the spiders, but this has got to be the best outcome since he does hold the 4 damage in his hand.
This lets him have the Spectral Spiders instead of drawing the cards, which probably is better. So he does make that choice. Oh, Misha is actually a big deal. Argent Commander was ready to win the game.
Oh, that is potentially good too.
Looks like
not good enough.
Looks like it's not good enough. So very, very close for Sniped again, but he didn't quite make it, and even the swipe off the top. I wonder if he'll play the swipe just to rub it in. He would have won the game anyway. Yep, snakes. Why did it have to be snakes? He decides to play the Argent Commander instead. So it's possible that Sniped again didn't know he was playing Argent Commander.
I think we've seen Tichu play that card once already, or it was in his hand.
It was in his hand. Okay, so if Sniped again was paying attention. Now, this means that Tichu goes up 2-0.
That's really good for Tichu, considering
really
he
good
is
for
the one
Tichu.
fighting for higher stakes, that BlizzCon qualifier.
Tichu definitely very, very, very much wanting to win that BlizzCon qualifier spot. Sniped again, already qualified. He's fighting for pride. At this point, he has to come back and win 3 games in a row. He has to reverse all kill with, by the look of it, his Priest deck.
Right.
So he's going to be banking on Priest to do a 3-0 turnaround. If he can't do it, Tichu will be taking home 3rd place, the spot. A little more scholarship money as well.
That's right.
So both of these players had a really strong tournament thus far. Didn't quite make it to the finals. Playing out the 3rd, 4th match. Game loads up. Druid versus Priest. Sniped again. Going 2nd with the coin. Decides to get rid of the Cabal. The Cabal that was such a big deal against Druid the last time he played it. But it is a 6-mana card, and he may want to draw into it later.
Right.
Wild Pyromancer, Dark Cultist, Thoughtsteal, all very strong cards against Druid. Wild Pyromancer is a little more situational.
I think this is the fastest draw. Well, I mean, this is the first time we've seen Leper Gnome out of Tichu.
It is. It is the first time we've seen Leper Gnome, so that answers the question of just how many Death Rattle minions are in here with this Undertaker.
Right, it seems like this was a much more aggressive deck than we first expected.
Leper Gnome, Druid. This is probably why he's playing the Gnomish Inventors and the Azure Drakes, because card economy-wise, running things like Undertaker and Leper Gnome can cause you to run out of resources really easily. With the Gnomish Inventor and the Azure Drake, he wants to just try to curve out forever and make his opponent deal with everything he could ever play, and then hopefully just win with a combo.
Right, it's kind of one way to play Zoo without playing Zoo, which is to play the Gnomish Inventor and the Azure Drake.
So, sniped again. It looks like he may pull the trigger on the Wild Pyromancer now. He's got that Holy Smite, so he can clear it out really well.
That feels good when you get that Creeper under the Smite when you're playing Priest.
It does leave the Wild Pyro on 1 health, which means that Tichu can clear it out with his hero power really efficiently, but it would mean that, or with Wrath, I suppose, he's sort of reaching over for it, but his only play this turn would be Undertaker if he does it, and he doesn't actually have a follow-up of any more Death Rattle minions. So it's just going to be a 1-2 for the foreseeable future, and that probably will not be something that Sniped Again is too worried about.
And he chooses to save the Wrath instead of cycling it. Saving the option deal 3 damage is probably a wise thing.
So Sniped Again actually picks up a Chillwind Yeti, which is very strong for this curve here, and he decides to use his coin to go ahead and give it that powered shield. So it's a 4/7, which can be very, very difficult for Druids to deal with. I think Tichu doesn't actually have a great answer now. He picks up a Savage Roar. Perhaps not what he wanted to see ideally. That Chillwind Yeti is probably going to do some serious work.
It will be. Druids have very little way of dealing with just a big health minion. And yeah, that thing is just out of reach of everything that Tichu can throw at it, other than something like Argent Commander Wrath, which will be for a long time.
So he decides to just play the Sludge Belcher instead of healing and playing the Dark Cultist. It does use his cards more quickly, but it doesn't leverage his hero power, into any additional benefit or additional gain.
That's
additional
right.
value, I guess, is what I should
yes.
be saying, considering I'm sitting next to the mayor.
Thank you, thank you.
So Swipe comes out, he picks up a Swipe, smashes it in. He's holding double Savage Roar, so he actually doesn't have a great way to finish the game yet with just the Roars.
That's right, and he does pick up an Innervate, so if he picks up Force of Nature, he can go for the combo, but the Priest is currently sitting pretty on that Sludge Belcher. And like you mentioned a turn before, the Priest did have the option to Dark Cultist and heal, and that would have brought the Yeti out of range of being able to be knocked down by the Druid's damage spells there.
It's really actually not such a bad position to be in, though, because Sniped Again would not have the Sludge Belcher in play if he were to make that other play.
Right, it's just a question of how fast you want to play the game. In this case, Sniped Again is choosing to play it a bit faster with the better card instead of using the hero ability.
The Argent Commander comes down, and it does take out the front end of the Belcher, but it still doesn't leave anything open towards actually getting any damage on the Priest anytime soon. Sniped Again, definitely sitting pretty here. He's got a lot going on. He just decides to bash in. He leaves the 4-2. No, he's going to Holy Nova. So this is the safest play by far.
Right, a great play. He's essentially locking in his board position, uses a high mana cost spell in a way that's pretty difficult to use against Druid when Druid's just stop decking.
Now, Azure Drake comes down for Tichu. He's digging for something that can help him fight against this board. Unfortunately, he's just going to have a 4-4. He decides not to attack the slime. It could just get healed with the hero power is probably what he's thinking. I don't think it's because he's worried about the 1 damage.
Still could be worth it just to leave the option of hero building the next turn, and it makes the opponent use 2 mana.
So Thoughtsteel comes out for Sniped again, and he gets a Druid of the Claw and a Leper Gnome, both of which is still just more stuff. His whole hand is minions, and minions are probably going to be good enough to take the game at this point. Sniped again, slams down the Loetheb, so he knows that he's very likely to keep this presence that he has through at least one more turn, and his opponent is at 16. He's even holding Druid of the Claw and even a Leper Gnome.
Yeah, these are tough times for Tichu.
As far as I can tell, this Priest deck of Sniped again is not running any Akanai Soul Priest or Circle of Healing.
Right. We did see another Priest player, yes. I'm just making sure to fact check myself. Or was it Sniped again who played this Priest?
I think we have seen him play it. We saw him play it in the semifinal.
Okay, that was the one with the 2 Cabal Shadow Priests.
Yeah. So really, really interesting sort of choices for these players. And Sniped again has basically full control at this point. Tichu's only chance to win would be to somehow put together 27 damage. There's no way he can clear out his opponent's board and still find that 27.
Right.
So a Keeper, or an Ancient Allure rather, although a very powerful card against Priest and something you usually want to have, it's usually better in a slower game. At this point, when he's at 8, he can't play the Ancient.
Right, I mean, his way of living another turn would be to heal for 5, but that is a miserable existence. And he'd rather just end it now, and I admire that from Tichu. He's too far behind to make anything happen at this point.
He's trying to find a way to kill himself outright. He can't kill himself all the way
quite.
this turn. He's 1 damage off self-lethal.
That's right.
1 damage off Seppuku. But he goes out honorably. Tichu losing a game with the Druid deck. So Sniped again, still alive. The Priest against the Druid, that matchup, we've seen it win twice. Priest looking pretty strong.
Yeah, Priest is one of those classes that is overall pretty good, other than perhaps the exception of Hunter to some extent. The Hunter is, like I said earlier, the reason why I moved away from Priest. I thought it was enjoying a less than 50% win rate, but it still wasn't that bad a matchup on the bright side.
One thing we haven't seen much of today, I think 1 or 2 players brought it, but they may have gotten knocked out in the quarterfinals, is Control Paladin as well, is also pretty good against Priest, but it's something that you don't see on the ladder very often, so it's really something that is not often considered.
Right, and another thing is Control Paladin, you were telling me, is actually good against Hunter, which everyone brought to this tournament.
It's slightly favored. You still don't, you would prefer to play against other things that aren't Hunter, but it is slightly favored against Hunter. It's sort of a nice angle of approach. Neither of these players did that, though, and so now Tichu is going to be having to bring out his Zoo deck against Priest. And Priest, in the past, has often been considered to do very well against Zoo, but this is not your normal Priest deck. Again, as far as we've seen, there's no Akanai Soul Priest. There's no Circle of Healing. How big of a difference does that make for this type of matchup?
That's huge, because one of the big ways for Priest to come back to the game is to do that Akanai Circle play. However, on the bright side, he does run 2 Cabal Shadow Priests, and Zoo is one of the biggest decks that you want a Cabal Shadow Priest from. You can usually steal a Creeper, a Harvest Golem, some other things. They're just excellent.
And, of course, he does still have access to Wild Pyromancer, which can also help swing that matchup.
I'm really surprised. Let's see. So we've got Sniped against Mulligan. Tichu is considering replacing one of the best cards in the game. One of the best early cards in the game.
Flame Imp, definitely a really powerful 1-drop, and he's going to have that no matter what. And he could play a second one on turn 2, maybe even alongside another 1-drop. But he decides to give it up. He wants to have a more straightforward curve.
Yeah, in this case, it is going to work out better for him because he does have a 1 into a 2, into a 3, and into a 4. So that's good counting. So
Tichu's got a pretty straightforward curve here, and it's going to be on Sniped again to see how he can deal with it.
We've got a very Sniped again is meeting the problem head on. There's no playing the Cleric right now is not neither the standard play nor the unstandard play. It's just facing the problem head on. Another valid play is just a pass.
Tichu bashes in for 3, so he's trying to get that damage in early. He could have forced the issue, but he's going to let Sniped again do the work of attacking his minions for him. And now Tichu, he doesn't have a way. Oh, now he does have a way. This is an interesting draw because now he has the option of killing off the Cleric and getting a 4/4 if that's what he wants to do.
Likely a good move because he otherwise is going to lose the Flame Imp. And he is going to choose to do that. Tap and Power Overwhelming while running 2 of the Power Overwhelming.
Double Power Overwhelming. It means he's very likely to have at least 1 Void Terror in the deck as well. I think we saw that earlier. Right. And he mulliganed it away and didn't redraw it. So we haven't seen it played yet. Sniped again, facing down a really strong board, and his only real good play is a Shade of Nax. Yeah,
this is going to be tough. He could have done Shadow Word Pain to kill the Flame Imp, but killing a 3/1 with that is really painful. Tichu continues the pressure with the Defender of Argus, bashes in for quite a lot of damage. Shade of Nax Rammus is actually one of the cards that's not very good in this matchup. It's a bit slow to get going.
9 damage is a lot of damage. Sniped again does have a Shadow or Death, and he gets to attack the other of the largest minions. So he's not dead yet. He is sitting at 15, facing down just a 2/3. But Tichu has more plays that he can make here.
Right. He's going to be looking to empty his hand as early as possible, as is usual when you're Zoo and you have the Doom Guard in your hand.
So 2 buff minions, a Dark Iron Dwarf, and an Abusive Sergeant make that 6 damage this turn instead of 2.
Right. If any minion gets left on the board, Sniped again will die to Tichu this turn. He does have the Wild Pyro. Can he make something amazing happen? Yes, he
does get to clear the board and leave a 3/1 in play, but he's at a very, very precarious life total of just 9.
That's right. Tichu actually has the opportunity to, if he's a gambling man, play the Doom Guard and then discard the other 2 cards and then play Power Overwhelming. But there's no real reason to take the risk at this point. He's doing too well for that. This is going to go into Sniped again's turn 6, though, and Cabal Shadow Priest manages to find an excellent target.
But it does leave him at just 9 health. He did not heal this turn, which means that Tichu is going to have 9 damage and end the game.
The Mighty Egg will finish him off.
The mighty, mighty, mighty Egg.
And that's Tichu's 3rd victory. So congratulations, Tichu makes it in the 3rd and secures that BlizzCon Invitational qualifier spot.
Such a big, big deal for him. I'm really happy for him. Sniped again, was playing for pride and a little bit of extra prize. A little bit sad for him, but I'm really happy for Tichu that he gets to pick up that spot. Really big deal. And, you know, good on these players for coming out and having such a good show for us.
Yeah, that's cool. That means everyone in the top 4 here will basically make it into the BlizzCon qualifier, and we might even see one of them, or we might see all of them make it into the BlizzCon
Who knows? Theoretically possible. Any number of these players, from what I've seen, they made it through a huge, huge tournament. Again, this is the North American Collegiate Hearthstone Open, run by TeSPA, and all of these players here that have played today are among the top 8 out of 3,600. And they played a very, very long and grueling tournament. They definitely deserve to be here. I've seen precious few true mistakes, and definitely some good play that we've seen. Some very strong players. Any of them are a threat to make it through that regionals. And now that we're done with a 3rd, 4th place match, we're going to be headed into the finals.
That's right.
What do you think about these players that we have? There's Dominus and there's No Stam. Dominus we saw most recently, and he took it down with Miracle Rogue entirely.
That's right. So that's actually part of his advantage, too. Have we seen his other decks at all?
So from Dominus, we have seen Miracle Rogue, which is what he won the semi-final match 3-0 with.
Right.
And we have seen Hunter, which is the deck that he won 2-0 with in the quarterfinals. Dominus has yet to drop a single game.
Wow.
And that means that, yes, there is one deck, one class, one part of his strategy that we have not even seen that hasn't been revealed yet.
Right. On the other hand, Nostam got to the finals with a 3-2. So Dominus, I'm sure, has been taking many notes, as is typical of college students. And we've got Hunter from Nostam, Druid from Nostam. We've got Backspace Rogue. Backspace Rogue is going to be good against the known decks of Dominus, the Hunter, and the Miracle Rogue. And right now we've got Nostum's player card showing. Again, Nostum is a freshman, our youngest player here, the youngest class, and he's from SUNY Farmingdale. Remind me, what is a SUNY?
It's a ram.
What?
Oh, Farmingdale?
Oh, right.
Yeah, yeah. They're the Rams, right?
Oh, yes.
So Nostam, really, really strong player. I've talked with him quite a bit since we've been here at PAX, and I definitely think that he was one of my favorites to make it to the finals, and he has done so. I think he has a good chance to win. His setup for this tournament is really strong. His planning, even just bringing the aggro rogue deck, is really risky because there are things that very much counter it. But if you have a good read on what you think your opponents are going to do, it can be a great choice. I think both Tichu, who ended up in third, that we just saw, and Nostam, who's in the finals, both went off the beaten path with some aggressive choices that have things that shut them down, but they weren't afraid, and they felt like they had a good read on the metagame, and to a certain extent, I think that they were rewarded for doing so. So it's not going to be long. We're going to be heading into the finals in just a minute. If you think that Nostam is going to take it, let me hear it. Someone. If you think that Dominus is going to dominate the finals, let me hear it.
Wow, I heard some serious Dominus love there.
A little bit of Dominus love.
All right, so we've
Everyone
got
else
Dominus,
likes bananas
kind
too.
of the favorite. He's entered the finals without dropping a game so far. Let's see if he can continue that. Dominus choosing Hunter to start us off. We're going to see his hand is 2 Hunter's marks. We're going to get rid of those against the Druid, which he does know is not the more ramp-heavy Druid, so perfectly fine to get rid of the Hunter's mark, considering keeping the Starving Buzzard.
Starving Buzzard is one of the important cards in the matchup. I'm surprised he mulligans both Hunter's marks. It is also very good against Druid, but he knows that his opponent is on the Echoing Ooze, Shade of Naxxramas plan.
And Nostum has replaced Shade replaced the other 2 cards of Shade into Shade. Even just keeping 1 Shade is not a great way to start, but I mean, would you keep the Shade in your opening hand?
It is extremely powerful. Against a Hunter specifically, I don't know if I would keep it in my opening hand, but it is one of your more powerful early plays. At worst, you get to play it on turn 3 going first, which is strong.
Yep.
If you're going to draw the card at all, it's better to have it early than to have it late.
That's
so
true. I suppose one of the
opener is
reasonings to get rid of it would be to have a higher chance of drawing something like Haunted Creeper. And Nostum is getting the best of both worlds here. So Haunted Creeper and a Shade of Naxxramas, an excellent start.
Dominus decides to just hero power for his turn 2. So Nostam has the initiative here. Of course, Hunter is a deck that plays from behind pretty well, as long as it doesn't get too low. So Dominus is going to be looking for a way to sort of get back in the game.
Interesting. We've got a Flare, so he can actually Flare and then Eagle Horn the Shade if he wants to.
He certainly could. And I think that that would be a reasonable play. It would be the easiest removal of it. Unless he exposes it early. Maybe he will just attack for 3 next turn. Who knows? But then you would still have to Hunter's Mark or Kill Command or something like that.
Right. I suppose one of the reasonings for not doing so would be because he might reveal it, and in the case that he doesn't, you just take 1 extra damage, and you save the coin.
So he's holding on to that Eaglehorn bow. He's really, really considering it. And he's now reaching for the end turn, so he's thinking he might want to hold on to the coin and hold on to Flare.
Right. Coin is really useful to speed out a turn, play a Beast with a Houndmaster, or get a Savannah Highmate. I've got Nostum with another Shade of Naxxramas. We're going to get some major Flare revealing stealth value here.
Yep, Nax is here for the Druid, and Nax has arrived. Haunted Creeper, double Shade. Really, really strong, really interesting deck to put them in, this Druid deck that plays them now.
Ooh, and that choice to keep the coin is going to pay off for Dominus because he is going to be able to coin out the Savannah Hymen on turn 5 if he wants to.
He is going to be hurting. He's going to be facing down a very large board from his opponent in order to do it, but maybe that will be the best way to crawl back into the game to get that much that much raw power into play.
Yeah, I mean, he is going to be taking a lot of damage if he decides to do that. So he's definitely considering using the kill command in one of the shades, which I think is an excellent way to stop the bleeding. In this case, there's only a 1-attack minion hitting his 28 health, so he can definitely follow it up with a coin Savannah Hymen.
I think kill command on the shade is as good as it's going to get, and he's considering using a Hunter's Mark and Explosive Trap. That is the alternative, but his opponent could just hold back and not attack for a turn, and then the shade will grow.
Right.
Potentially large enough to be outside of the range of the Explosive Trap.
And then he can also alternatively trade them into Savannah Hymen, so I like that play.
He decides just to kill it. I like that a lot. No stam now. He has the initiative here.
Ooh, if he plays Lotheb, that coin Savannah Hymen play is not going to be possible.
Very true. His opponent does have a reasonable... No, he really doesn't have a reasonable alternative. So the Spectral Knight comes down, which is going to let the Savannah Hymen come out, which is probably the most likely play here. Dominus reaching for the coin already, but he's going to consider his options. He says, okay, this is for sure the best play here.
Right. It's interesting, and I haven't thought about this much, but using Lotheb to block the coin, that's, I mean, into a likely turn 6 play. I think that's reasonable.
So now that he's drawn the Defender of Argus, No Stam does actually have some interesting options here.
Yep, he could clear the Savannah Hymen outright with the Defender of Argus.
He can clear it with the Defender of Argus, and he can clear it with the Keeper of the Grove. Both are options, and both of them probably use the Wrath, but one uses the Wrath to draw and not use Defender.
Right.
So he could silence, lose his Spectral Knight.
The downside of that is you lose your Spectral Knight. As opposed to here, you get a 5-1, which can't be targeted. Unfortunately, that is bad against Unleash the Hounds.
So would you take consideration to just bashing in for damage here?
I would, but looks like he's going to go with a even different plan, and he's just going to kill that and not worry about the hyenas and keep his guy alive. That's actually a pretty good play as well, because there's no possibility of Hunters marking that thing.
Yeah, well, not no possibility, but you would have to find an Iron Decal first. And I forget if Dominus is running one or not. I know I've seen at least 1 or 2 Iron Decals so far in the tournament. But as far as deck lists go, we don't have the deck list in front of us either. So if you're watching at home, the deck lists for all of the players, including these 2 finalists, will be available on TeSPA.org after the completion of the event. So,
and a few interesting choices they've made. So I look forward to seeing what their exact deck lists look like.
Yeah, some of the plans are actually really good. I've really liked some of the choices that the players have made, and some of them are really standard decks, but with a couple changes that actually make sense for tournament play. So if you're an aspiring tournament player, sort of reviewing what they've done could give you a little bit of insight into maybe some of the things that you might want to do if you were trying to look into getting into community tournaments.
This Spectral Knight right now is such a headache for Dominus. There's no easy way to get past it. He either needs to use the last charge of his bow, or, well, that's pretty much it. He has to use the last charge of his bow if he wants to get past it this turn.
And he's going to have to get past it to win the game eventually. I think it's unreasonable to try to wait. Oh, interesting.
What?
He's going to play Explosive Trap.
Wow, that's a creative way also to deal with that.
It doesn't deal with it immediately, but it should deal with it eventually. And by the look of it, it's probably going to be good enough.
Yeah, we've got an interesting play from Nostem coming up. He could, upon seeing the efforts of this Hunter, like, you can use the Ancient of Lore to heal it if you wanted to.
He could have done so. It would have been certainly a reasonable play. Considering how powerful and how troublesome that Spectral Knight is, I think it would have been better than drawing 2 cards. It would have pressed his advantage and still forced his opponent to have multiple resources to kill it. Actually, I think it would have ended up at 3 life, so his opponent would have had the opportunity to attack it, but he would be at 10 life to do so.
It would have ended up at 4 due to 1 + 5 - 3, or -2, 1, 6. Right. But, I mean, 2 cards, who can complain about that?
Still would have been very good. Instead, he decides to just draw the cards, which is also good because as of right now, He is playing double combo, and he hasn't drawn any of it yet.
Mm-hmm.
So drawing 2 cards does dig towards the theoretical win. Keeping the Spectral Knight alive, would have made him need to win with the Spectral Knight.
That's
as
right.
far as he
Which
knew.
could be possible.
Which
So
is possible,
2
but
paths, I think, both held validity.
so unfortunately, Dominus doesn't have a great play this turn. He decides
Ooh.
to just play the Freezing Trap, which is an okay play.
Yeah.
And he knows that his hand is very limited, and he needs to use his damage at this point for damage to his opponent. No Stam, though, has, at this point, a really great hand. And even if he decides to let this Ancient get Freezing Trapped, he's going to check it, and it is a Freezing Trap. He can play both 2-drops and Defender of Argus, and all 3 of them will have the buff and taunt.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of guys out for Unleash the Hounds, which Dominus hasn't revealed yet. And he does have a buzzer in hand, so this is going to be a big draw for Dominus.
Unleash would be the premier draw. It is the one that he wants to see.
Look at
more than
that mouse
anything in his
over the deck. He's like 2 out of 17. Oh.
2 out of 17 doesn't get there this time.
He might feel like he needs to draw into it to have a chance, and I think this is one of those chances where he has to just buzzer and go fish.
As far as he knows, his opponent could be holding Savage Roar,
Right.
and you kind of have to just go for it at this point and see what buzzer can do for you.
Here we go. Not quite.
Eagle Horn Bow number 2. So now he'll have to take serious consideration to possibly playing Kill Command just to kill a minion, and use his bow to kill another one, and be at 18 facing down 4 power. And his buzzard is gone. So
Yep.
very, very likely for No Stam to take this game. Druid, very power. Very, very power.
That's right. Tough to think of any set of draws that Dominus could do. Well, I mean, a set of draws would be buzzard plus Unleash. But unfortunately, you can only draw 1 card.
Dominus is taking every consideration in terms of what he could do, or what he could draw, and what that would change about his current hand. Ultimately, he's decided that he does need to use the Kill Command to take care of a minion, and that represents his most likely way to win.
Right. Though it is hard to see a path through the perilous times ahead for him. We've got Nostum now able to play Ancient of Lore again, if he so desires.
I believe he's just going to Keeper of the Grove and shoot down that buzzard, bash in with the other 2 minions, and then play low at them. He might kill the 1/1 just so it can't get Houndmaster.
That's a good point.
But this develops his board. He doesn't have to worry about Unleash for at least a turn. Looks like he is going to kill the Web Spinner, so he doesn't want any, both kill commands are gone anyways. Both kill commands are gone, but Houndmaster is still a thing. He gets King Mukla off of the Web Spinner.
Oh.
That is a lot of legendary gets.
That is the legendary beast trifecta.
And we have not seen the Beast.
Ah, that's right, the beast.
So we've seen Manexna, we've seen King Crush, and we've now seen King Mukla. We've seen some other beasts as well mixed in there, but I think we have not seen a single 1-drop beast.
Yeah, we've seen most of the upper tier beasts.
Yeah. We also got Direwolf Alpha, I believe.
Yeah, an excellent one.
That was a really good
We've
one.
also seen Savannah Highmane.
Savannah Highmane, that's true. Savannah Highmane was
Probably the best one, generally.
was probably the best one, certainly for that matchup at least. Certainly for that matchup. I believe I've gotten a silence before in a situation where it was just the best possible thing I could get. Iron Beak Owl. And it let me Hunter's Mark.
And the swipe is enough to end it. 5, 7, 9, 11, 12, 16.
So swipe, a good draw. No Stam was almost certainly going to win the game regardless of
Actually, he
his
doesn't
draw
even
that
need
turn.
the swipe because of the bananas, which Dominus so kindly offered.
So kindly. All right. No Stam taking down a game with Druid. He's been really, really strong with that Druid deck. It is no joke. It is no joke.
Right. You know, I just remembered you were interviewing Dominus, right? He's the banana guy.
He is the banana guy, King Mukla.
A good way to finish that.
It's only fitting. So
live by the banana, die by the banana.
He does indeed live by the banana, and he has now died to it too. So no more web spinner action for Dominus. No more potential King Mukla, as far as I know.
No worries. We'll see plenty of King Crushes.
We'll get King Crush all day.
Right.
That's been the standard. So we're going to see yet another game of Druid, and he's played it really, really, really well. Has no stam. And here we go. Now we get to see the reveal of the third deck of Dominus. So it's Shaman.
It's Shaman. This is the second player that we've seen using Shaman.
Shaman considered to be a little bit weak to Hunter, and Hunter is so popular that some players have strayed away or shied away rather from playing Shaman. But
ooh, we've got a good curve by Dominus, and Nostum also has a pretty good one. So we're gonna see some reasonable openings from both players here.
Yeah, both players, a lot of early action here, a lot of business. Undertaker comes out on turn 1. He's got the Hunter Creeper ready to go to follow it up. And Undertaker Shaman, I've seen it some, and I've not seen it. Ooh, Innervate comes a turn 2 late for No Stam. He would have loved to play a turn 1 Shade against Shaman and get it out of Lightning Storm range as quickly as possible.
Oh, here comes the Lightning Storm. So, pretty easy follow-up with the Creeper here, and chooses not to clear that. It's probably going to wait for the Lightning Storm until killing off the Death Rattle.
Yeah, considering he's holding a Doomhammer, considering that he would be trading away his Undertaker, which still could theoretically grow, I think it makes a lot of sense to not attack the Haunted Creeper here.
Right.
It only leaves 1 power in play for your opponent instead of 2 plus 1 damage you did up to it already.
Here comes that early Shade of Nax Rammus. It's going to start to grow. It's going to be a little tricky for Nostum to decide when to attack with the Shade of Nax Rammus, when to do the Great Reveal.
I think you're right. And Dominus could just pull the trigger on Lightning Storm this turn. I think he's going to at least strongly consider it. He could kill off the Creeper and play Lightning Storm. It's the only time where it's really going to be guaranteed. Yeah. And it uses the Lightning Storm to kill the Shade instead of letting the Shade kill one of your minions.
That's right. And a nice bonus is he'll have a possibly clear board to coin Manatide Totem into.
It also locks No Stam out of playing Defender of Argus this turn. Well, I suppose he could, but it would be probably not the best plan.
All right, we've got Innervate used for only 1 mana, but that is perfectly fine because otherwise this Golem play isn't very strong.
Yep, Coinervate's out. Just the 4/6, Mr. Spectral Knight.
All right, so this is a little tricky for Dominus. He was looking for it to coin Manatide Totem on an empty board. However, that thing is not dealable with on this hand.
It could be worse. Even if all he does is Totem up this turn and attack, he will be able to theoretically deal with the Spectral Knight using Fire Elemental. What he doesn't know is that No Stam is holding that Defender of Argus, so the Defender of Argus will be able to grow his health by 1 if he chooses to play it that way. No Stam's hand is pretty light on total resources with which to fight.
Right.
So if Dominus can clear out what his opponent is doing, and he is at a relatively healthy 29 life total, I think he has a really good chance to win the game, at least as far as it looks right now. And so far, the choices that he's made have been pretty good. I think using the Lightning Storm the way he did was a good choice. And even though it overloaded him the next turn, it looks like he's going to be able to survive that and end up okay.
Yep.
This Spectral Knight is problematic, but again, now that he hasn't used the Defender of Argus, he can kill the Knight right now if that's what he wants to do.
Right, really tempting not to use the Defender of Argus for the Ooze. So Dominus coming on a very good turn here. Coin can take out the Spectral Knight, which is usually a big problem. Even Doomhammer can take out the Knight, although he would take 8 damage.
I think that he has so much resource in his hand.
Yes.
That I think it's best to just continue trading resources and not take 8 damage, which could theoretically put you in range to die. I think that this is a really, really strong play. Even the 6/5 for Druids is sometimes particularly difficult to deal with, and No Stam doesn't have any great answers.
Right. Swipe would be his dream answer, which it does not hold here.
6 mana for Echoing Ooze Defender of Argus is something you do often want to be doing.
Yes.
And this is a really powerful turn 6 play, minion in play already, play the Echoing Ooze, drop Defender of Argus. But his opponent is not at all out of stuff.
That's right. He can even repeat the same turn next turn, and that'll be a pretty good turn too.
It's what he's going to have to do at this point as far as we know. Certainly better than nothing, but not what you want to be doing when you know your opponent has that many cards in hand. Okay. Dominus gets to decide what his best way to deal with this is.
He's toying with the idea of doing a Doomhammer Earthshock combo, or Doomhammer Lightning Bolt, I think. You can kind of see the mouse movement that he's moving to kind of practice his swings. I like these practice swings sometimes.
Do you do a lot of practice swings yourself?
I myself try to do it in my head or vocalize it because this does give a little bit away to your opponent because they can see your mouse cursor as you do this. So they can possibly potentially like start getting into your head and trying to figure out what you're thinking and why you're thinking about making the attacks you are.
Yeah, I think I usually try to do either nothing and leave my mouse away from my cards until I know what I want to do, or alternatively, if I figure out what I know what I want to do really quickly, then I touch things that are irrelevant. So he does play pretty strong. He's going to leave just a 2-3 in play. Almost down to the end of the rope, but he's able to get it all off. This leaves the healing totem actually pretty nice. It leaves a 6-4. As far as we know, no swipe yet. Ancient Allure is a good draw, but he's still a bit behind on board. If you were playing that into an empty board, that would be the perfect draw. I consider Ancient Allure to be one of the most important cards in Druid versus Shaman.
Wow, is he playing Defender? Why would you play that before the Echoing Ooze? Oh, it's Seiken Hero ability. Okay.
I think that that is a really weak play in terms of using your resources as efficiently as possible, but it is the most guaranteed removal that he can get. It is the safest play in the immediate.
That's true, but a safe play is not going to cut it at this point. Given that you're staring at your opponent with a Doomhammer and they've got 5 cards in hand.
Well, he's hoping that Dominus is holding a bunch of removal and situational cards, and that Ancient of Lore will help climb him back into the game, which is not unreasonable. I think that it makes sense. I just don't know if it was the best play.
Okay.
So he does get to play an Ancient Allure against a board that is no longer as threatening as it was before. He is still down to 20, facing down a Doomhammer. And Dominus has a pretty good follow-up here, and he even picks up a Rockbiter weapon, which is going to threaten to close the game out real quick.
That's right. He could even think about doing the Rockbiter now, since 5 damage on the Ancient of Lore is pretty good.
He could. He also has the opportunity to either Fire Elemental or Hex.
Yeah, Hex is one of the biggest, if not the biggest card that a deck like this will run.
This is not the most likely play to win by next turn, but what it does do is it lets him play this Mana Tide Totem, which, considering he's at 16 and it doesn't represent an immediate threat, will probably draw more than 1 card, and is a really safe play moving forward.
Yeah, Dominus, by the way, is just spacing out his mana really well. The last turn before this, he played the Gnomish Inventor on 4 mana. I think that was a lot of calculation. He clearly spent a lot of time thinking about how the mana would space itself out.
Yeah, and Shaman can be very tricky when it comes to overloads. Sometimes you think you don't want to be overloaded next turn, but really you just need to get it out of the way so you don't mess up your Fire Elemental turn and stuff like that. So overall, he has had really good sequencing. And we saw Druid beat Shaman once earlier today, and Dominus really coming out strong with the Shaman against the Druid and showing that Shaman has a lot of game.
That's right. I think Shaman has a generally good matchup against most everything. In this case against Druid, they've got a lot of the board clear on the cheap, and this type of deck tends to put out a lot of stuff, so seems like a natural move.
NoStam is really banking on this. Oh, wow. Well,
that's
just the end. That's 16 by itself.
Play.
Well, he had the win anyway. He doesn't need Rockbiter number 2, as it turns out. It's just dead. So, was that the first Shaman win today?
I do believe so.
So, not many Shaman players, only a couple, and Dominus bringing Shaman, first time we've seen it among his lists here in the finals, takes down a game.
It's worth mentioning that Dominus has actually labeled his Shaman deck a new meta, so he has a lot of faith in it. And Dominus was actually the person we talked to earlier about, but what if you face the Hunters? There's so many Hunters out there. Doesn't Hunter just naturally counter Shaman? And Dominus actually responded really confidently. I think that my deck has a over 50% win rate against Hunter.
So he thinks he's favored against Hunter.
Yeah.
And I think it's really likely right now that we're going to see a Hunter against it.
That's right, since it's so common knowledge that Hunter actually just hard counters Shaman.
That is definitely the way most people view it, definitely the way people consider it. I've fallen into that camp before, but there are some people that I've talked to who I really respect their opinion, who say Shaman's actually not that bad against Hunter. So Dominus is not going to be afraid to be playing Shaman against Hunter here.
Nostem choosing to keep the Buzzard. Good. It's so tempting to keep the Buzzard because you can draw and Unleash, which is just traditionally so good against Shaman. He's even thinking about keeping Snake Trap, but the Buzzard Snake Trap dream.
The Buzzard Snake Trap dream, I think I have fallen into it before, and my opponent coined a trap, and I said, why did you do that? And then they played a Buzzard, and for whatever reason, I did not have my thinking cap on that day, and just attacked into it. So
mistakes were made.
Mistakes were made. I believe I lost that game, and rightly so. They got me. They got me.
You do. You're going to fall for that at least once in your Hearthstone career.
I think it's a never again type of thing.
Yeah.
So, no stamp. He decides just to coin out, and he's got a Huffer, and he decides to kill the Spell Power Totem.
I mean, that is good in that it will remove one of the ways for the Huffer to die, which is spell Earthshock.
A Spell Power Earthshock, which probably would have happened.
Right.
And now Dominus is going to be looking at probably playing a Lightning Bolt instead.
Or even Feral Spirit. Feral Spirit takes down 2 Huffers. Good card.
It does. Lightning Bolt would let him Hero Power this turn. Feral Spirit would mean he's probably following up with Hero Power next turn. It maybe depends on how much Overload he wants to, eat between the next 2 turns.
There's also just, as a Shaman, so oftentimes you can have a all-spell hand, so a lot of the thinking has to do with, well, do I really need to get rid of my spells? And right now he's got a balanced hand, I'd say.
No matter what, it's very likely that he won't be able to play Loatheb on turn 5 as it stands. If he plays Feral Spirit, he might, unless he's presented with something that he needs to Lightning Bolt next turn.
I think that's actually a really good point, and that might be the tipping point for Dominus' decision. Because Feral Spirit allows the Loatheb play on turn 5, Feral Spirit might be the better play here.
And I think that the fact that he didn't just decide to Lightning Bolt immediately means that that probably is the primary thing he was considering. No Stam has the great follow-up. Of course, the dream is coin Animal Companion into Animal Companion as far as hunters go. And he even picked up Unleash the Hounds to match his Buzzard.
Yeah, and Misha is the best one he could have gotten there.
So it's really coming together for No Stam. Dominus has a lot of play still to go here. He's certainly not out of it yet. He doesn't have a truly great answer for Misha.
I actually think he drew into a reasonable answer.
A reasonable answer, I agree.
Especially since he can follow it up with Undertaker.
He can play an Undertaker into the empty board, and
Actually,
it will still let him play Loatheb next turn.
I mean, I had just thought, no, you Rock Biter the Wolf and you send it in, but one thing you can even do is not even lose the Wolf. You just do some mix of Earthshock, Rock Biter.
You could do that. It would be at the cost of 4 health, which is a very relevant thing in this matchup, Hunter versus Shaman. Neither class has access to very significant healing. There are, of course, a few neutral cards that heal, but not so powerful that you would want to play them in these very synergistic decks.
It is. You even saw Dominus actually mouse over Earthshock Lightning Bolt. Perhaps he's considering that. But the bad news about that is it blocks out Loatheb on the next turn.
It really does come down to how important he thinks Loatheb is next turn. He decides Loatheb will be good later, and he's just going to let himself be overloaded for 1. So he'll have 4 mana next turn. The good news is he gets to keep his Wolf. and he also stays at 30 life. Both of those could end up being important.
The bad news is he doesn't have an obvious next turn, but he's going to count on the heart of the cards for that one.
So No Stam just got a Creeper and a Freezing Trap, which is better than just Hero Power Pass by far. Sends it back to Dominus, and he's got, of course, he's still got his
this
Wolf.
is so good for him. He actually has a 4-drop now.
Oh, he does have a 4-drop. He gets to just replay his Spirit Wolf.
Wow.
That no overload. Very nice. So, gives him something to do.
I mean, that may have been a mistake from Nostum's side, just allowing that play.
He ends up getting an Eaglehorn Bow, which is a good answer, all things considered. And now he has to decide whether he plays the Explosive Trap or just Hero Powers. Hero Power is the most efficient with his resources. If he's at any point able to draw a bazillion cards off of Buzzard Unleashed.
Oh my gosh, Harrison Jones.
Oh, wow. That was a draw. That belongs in a museum.
One of the best cards to kill currently with Harrison Jones, and actually one of the reasons why Harrison Jones enjoyed such a popularity spike for time when everyone was running Honor.
Do you just Unleash for 2?
Boy, I would be really tempted not to, but this is absolutely fine. Oh, that's a great
The very
draw.
first draw is Hunter's Mark, so it's definitely going to work out. He gets to clear out his opponent's board, and he even has a Web Spinner. Pick up that additional draw, and he gets a Loatheb of his own. So he doesn't. There's no high main yet. Yeah. Dominus does have a Hex ready if there were a high main, but this is still very annoying for Shaman. Usually their best way to deal with this is with Lightning Storm, and Dominus does not have a Lightning Storm. So he's going to have to sort of chip away at his opponent's board.
Right. Looks like a good turn this turn is to play the Feral Spirit, a Totem, and then kill 2 things. Probably the Buzzard and the Creeper.
So do you think you would Rockbiter yourself to kill the Buzzard?
Yeah, I would do that. I would have made a Rockbiter the Buzzard play and Earthshock the Creeper play. This one is perfectly respectable too. He hopes to draw multiple cards with the Manatide Totem. Currently looks like that's going to happen.
And the play, well, he does pick up a kill command, so he has a way to deal with it if he wants to. It means he won't be advancing his board as much as he would have wanted. He has to choose between playing Loatheb this turn or using the kill command. If he uses the kill command, he's still not necessarily getting in there as much as he needs to.
Right. When you're a Shaman and your Manatide Totem gets kill commanded, I think that's a win for you.
This is actually a really good position for Dominus. He felt that even if the other play would have been better purely on the resources he had in his hand, perhaps would have been a better trade, like the play you suggested, that his hand was not a winning hand, and Manatide Totem was his best opportunity to dig towards the win.
Right, that is something so good to be thinking about.
Kill command is going to come in on that Manatide Totem.
Yeah, I mean,
so
Shield Block is a good card against Hunter, and in this case, you basically gained 5, you drew a card, and not only that, you get rid of kill command from the Hunter's hand, which is so strong.
Very, very strong. So Manatide Totem, maybe not considered the best card against Hunter. Definitely a good card in this particular circumstance.
Used really well here.
Really well. Now Dominus, he picks up a Gnomish Inventor, so he's got the promise of continued digging into his deck. His hand is not unbelievable, but his opponent doesn't have much of a hand left either, and he is at 27 life. He needs to decide if he wants to try and kill off that wolf or just bash into the face.
There might be actually some concern that this is Snake Trap. I think that's the main concern right now. And, okay, wouldn't have mattered either way.
So the reveal of Freezing Trap comes down. Now he has a really kind of a difficult choice here on what he wants to do. His life total's good, but he doesn't have any really, really powerful play this turn. He decides to just go with the Gnomish Inventor.
Some consideration to Rockbiter the wolf, but he thinks, not quite value enough.
Yeah, he can deal with it later. Unless there are a bunch of charged beasts coming out, the effect is not terribly relevant this turn. Looks like he will just be able to deal with it next turn.
we've got Nostum just playing on curve.
So we haven't seen a Lightning Storm yet from Dominus. So he's still got 2 tucked away hiding. That
Well,
could come at any point.
Some players don't play 2.
Alakir has arrived. Alakir, the Wind Lord. Can't win just yet, but he's even got a Rock Biter to go with it. He's thinking about just playing Loatheb Defender Vargas. He just touched both of them. Certainly,
Looks strong.
certainly very, very strong. And he's also thinking about trying to get the Flame Tongue Totem into play. Because if it could survive until next turn, that would represent a lot of damage. But he's not going to be able to deal 26, 24.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, there's even... there was probably even some consideration to play Alec here. Clear quite a bit, but it will be better later.
I really like this play. It does set up pretty well.
Elegant.
Nostam does get one very important card in Savannah High Main, but Dominus has been holding on to a Hex for the whole game at this point.
That's right. Good discipline from I mean, not discipline because he can actually cast Hex, but that is the best answer.
And considering he didn't have Lightning Storms, which would have just been easy plays at 2 or 3 different points in this game, he's definitely done very well for himself to sort of stay at a reasonable life total up to this point.
Yeah, I think that Manatide Totem Spirit Wolf play was like the key turning point where he not only gained a few points of health, but he also negated a kill command from the opponent.
It was almost certainly the best play so far of the game, and it was something that we didn't jump to immediately.
Right.
And so it definitely does highlight just how much he's probably played this deck, and he said that he's confident with it, and I think there's a reason for it, and he's getting to prove it here that especially if he ends up winning this game, that this is no joke, this Shaman versus Hunter.
Right. It takes a bold man to claim Shaman's favorite against Hunter.
It does, and he's made some very, very strong plays, and maybe plays that others may not have made. So Houndmaster comes in, and Froggy is a beast. So Froggy gets to be a big Froggy.
I
But
see
even
he's
that,
making the explosive trap setup. I was thinking, well, wouldn't you? Oh, right, of course. The explosive trap is going to get set up here.
someone set up us the bomb, and it's going to be good enough to take down those 2 minions, but he still has a lot of damage.
Right.
12 plus 4, 1 damage off lethal. 1 damage off lethal.
Wait, no, the thing slides over.
Yeah, but that makes
Oh.
4. And then, oh no, Alakir is a lot. No, it's more than 12. He has plenty of damage.
Right, that's gonna
Easy
be-
game.
Yes. Nice job.
Dominus. So good. Dominating with Shaman.
Woo! Good Dominus.
Shaman taking down Hunter. It can be done. The dream is real.
Yeah. Perhaps it's even favored.
Perhaps so. And now, 1 game away. He could do it just with Shaman. Now there is another interesting matchup coming up. We know that Nostam's final deck is that aggro backspace rogue.
Ah, that's right.
And that's a matchup that I've played on the rogue side a lot of. I haven't played the Shaman side, but I've played it enough to know that it hinges upon some really big swing cards. And the cards that you want to see if you're the rogue player are Cold Light Oracle and Blade Flurry, and especially something that works with Blade Flurry.
All right.
Now-
Undertaker looks like a unexpectedly good card. I have played this matchup as the Shaman side pre-Nax, but Undertaker, I'm like, oh, wow. A 1-2. Hey, that's pretty good.
It is really good, and especially if it grows, it could threaten to kill 2 things, and that's
Right.
a really big deal against this type of deck.
Keeps
this-
Lightning Storm in his
this aggro.
opening hand, which I'm not sure about since they typically don't have that many things.
Yeah, that's going to be a hit or miss type of card. It really depends on what questions the rogue deck asks you,
Yes.
whether or not that will be an appropriate answer. But it does help keep you safe. Unfortunately, he draws 2. So if his opponent doesn't have anything that Lightning Storm is particularly good against, then it will not end up being really that exciting.
Right. I mean, right now, Dominus is basically playing with possibly you could call this a one-card hand in Flame Tongue Totem.
Yeah. He does pick up, Lightning Bolt is good as well. He does pick up an Azure Drake, which could be good for later.
Yeah, this is a big surprise. Nostum decided to dagger up instead of play Loot Hoarder.
Yeah, and I thought he was going to dagger up and attack the Undertaker, but the risk there would have been, what if you draw, or what if they have a Death Rattle guy and grow it? So then you would have attacked into it for really no reason.
Also a problem with the Loot Hoarder play because he can grow it and then attack into Loot Hoarder without dying.
Having two things die is what you don't want to have happen to that Undertaker, and so NoSam does make the safest play. The most likely play to be able to kill it for sure. But unfortunately, his opponent got Searing Totem. And that means that Loot Hoarder gets taken down with relative ease.
Right. Searing Totem is at its best against Backspace Rogue.
So King Mukla comes down, which is actually really interesting. And he does have a Cold Light Oracle to follow it up as well. So if there's anything really critical, Feral Spirit is a great card. If there's anything really critical that Dominus wants or needs to draw, NoSam could possibly even see it burn away.
Right now he does have 10 cards in hand. He can deal with the Mukla by Banana Rockbiter, which also has the benefit of using several cards.
Another play that he could consider is something like Feral Spirit and playing both of the bananas.
Or even Feral Spirit into Coin Flame Tongue.
Also a consideration. So Feral Spirit is really likely to get played this turn, mostly because he doesn't have a great answer to the Mukla this turn. He's also looking at Flame Tongue Totem and Lightning Bolt.
He does have a great answer to Mukla, and this is right now a debate between several great answers.
I see. Yeah, no, you're right. There's nothing that removes it immediately, well, Flame Tongue Totem and Lightning Bolt do.
Yeah, or Lightning Bolt, Banana.
And it looks like that's what he's going to do, actually. He's going to Flame Tongue Totem and Lightning Bolt.
Okay. And he uses the coin to get out an extra totem. That puts him at 7 cards, otherwise he would have been an 8. I wonder if he's planning around the Cold Light Oracle, which would have been a fantastic plan around.
Yep, so Dominus does play around Cold Light Oracle, and he also gets to have at least some presence in play, which is also good. So the Cold Light Oracle does come down, and Eviscerate hits that Flame Tongue Totem. So now NoSam has to decide if he wants to attack that totem. He's probably not going to because... Oh, well, he does. Okay, so now another Taunt Totem could come down.
If this was the case, I would have preferred the Defias Ringleader because you attack the totem with your weapon, and sure, you leave a Flame Tongue Totem out on the board, but there's nothing with it.
That would have played into one of the 2 Lightning Storms that Dominus has. And I don't think he did it because he's playing around Lightning Storm. He just thought that was the stronger play there.
Right. I mean, when you're playing with a card like Defias Ringleader, you're going to have, for the most part, 3 guys out to be Lightning Stormed anyways, though. So it's really hard to not get Lightning Stormed on your Defias Ringleader.
Feral Spirits on turn 5 with 30 life into an empty board is
against Face Rogue.
An extremely, extremely powerful position to be in when you are playing against Face Rogue.
Well, yes, it is.
So Eviscerate number 2 as removal comes down. NoSam cannot be happy with where he's at.
This is the point of despair when you're in a Face Rogue position. Normally, you're trying to get your opponent to a good life total to have your opponent on about ending your turn 6, 15, something like that.
He softens up the Wolf, kind of under the assumption that he'll be able to finish it off with SI7 Agent, or perhaps even the Defias Ringleader that's already in play. But there are bananas, and he knows that there's bananas in his opponent's hand, so it's going to take at least 2 resources of some kind to deal with it. And it looks like it'll just end up being probably Defias Ringleader plus weapon, which is okay.
Dominus thinking about the safe play versus the a little more ambitious play. He's taking the safe play.
I do like the safe play. It plays around Cold Blood, usually leaving minions in play unnecessarily.
Right.
Is not what you want to do.
I think when you're up against Face Rogue, the safe play often turns out to be the right play.
And NoSam does finally break through and push in 10 damage this turn.
Yeah, and in Nostum's favor, these 3 last cards in his hand are what you want your last 3 cards to be. That looks like maximum of 16 damage with his hand, so Nostum's like, even with this terrible opening, it's like, wow, I actually only need to do 4 more damage.
Dominus is left with a few choices this turn. He has both Feral Spirit and Defender of Argus. He could just play Alec here. He can Lightning Storm. He certainly has a few choices.
A lot of great choices.
A lot of great choices. He could even Azure Drake Lightning Storm, even though it would leave him exposed. He is at 20. And it would probably be good enough. So he just plays Alec here. And I actually like this a lot.
I think it has its pros and cons. On the pro side, it is difficult to be able to cast an 8-mana spell off against the Face Rogue. On the con side that was probably the best Lightning Storm you would have gotten in the entire game.
That's true, but I think that Lightning Storms have been nearly a dead card the whole time. And this still lets you, instead of using the Feral Spirit or the Defender of Argus, the previous turn, the Alec here kills both minions and trades with a third thing.
Right.
The other ones would not necessarily have done so, and it would have left you exposed to the possibility, however unlikely, of Blade Flurry. I think that Alec here was like the guaranteed choice and very strong. So I really respect that play. And Harrison Jones comes down. It's just killing a 1/1 dagger. It's almost even a little bit like of the rub-ins at this point. I think Dominus is in an extremely good position to take this game. This has been
one of the most
good-looking
one-sided games this tournament.
Really backed up by really strong play, though, and really strong sequencing.
I agree.
Especially last game when it looked like he might not be able to make it against Hunter, and he just came up with these plays that made it look easy.
And I, for one, would not have immediately said Shaman is a great deck against Face Rogue. In fact,
it's not. I mean, it is okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Going in, I think it's pretty close. Maybe the Face Rogue is slightly favored, but Dominus has really just cruised under some excellent control here.
Dominus trying to figure out just how much damage he has and what he wants to do on this turn and next. He's trying to plan out both this turn and next turn to try to make sure that he can both be safe and close out the game. He may just decide to play the Azure Drake. It's very likely for him to play something more like Fire Elemental. And it looks like he is going to do so. So Fire Elemental comes down. This means it's basically a gigantic Blade Flurry or bust. So it's got to be a Cold Light Oracle off the top.
Well played.
Right.
And it's
Nope.
not.
And a well played to Dominus, who is going to get it to another game. Wait, I was going to say who closes it out, but you were about to correct me, and you're like, okay.
That was a very dominating performance.
Excellent.
Congratulations to Dominus.
Yeah, you were like 2-1,
No,
and I was like
3-1.
Oh, okay. I didn't see your third finger there. So big congratulations to Dominus.
Yeah.
Wow, he's the winner of the tournament.
That is I believe that is 2,500 in scholarships to Dominus. It's 5,000 total, right? I don't know what second is. Let's see if we can look that up. But thank you so much, guys. That was the last game of the finals. 3-1 scoreline to Dominus. Some really strong play with Shaman at the end. Hopefully we'll get a chance to come talk to him again in just a couple of minutes.
That's right. We'll definitely get an interview with Dominus at the very least. And congratulations to him for winning 2,000 for the tournament.
And consolation a little bit to NoSam. He did play really strong through the great majority of the tournament. He fell in the finals, but he also gets a spot at the NA Regionals. We are going to take a short break, and hopefully we'll have him back for an interview right after this.